Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the 2021 edition of the Sigmafine Summit for the Americas. Another virtual happening with the hope that next year we can all be together in person. So let's make the best of it. This year, we continue to build on the theme of transforming data into digital assets by extending the discussion into actionable insights, which can be derived from such digital assets. We will showcase the Sigmafine Studio this year as well, which is our exciting new product, enhancing both the Sigmafine user experience and the capabilities of the Sigmafine system as a whole. So if you're a Sigmafine user, we hope you will appreciate these new features and capabilities. If you are new to Sigmafine, we hope the voice of the users presenting this year's summit will convey to you the value of Sigmafine, and your participation will be the beginning of your journey in transforming data into digital assets. Today's agenda comprises of 7 presentations featuring a longtime Sigmafine user, Chevron, Emerson and Contac, which are strategic partners of Pimsoft for the delivery of Sigmafine solutions, as well as Sigmafine specialists from our team introducing these new products. We have allocated 2 5-minute breaks, which we will use as a buffer in case we run short or long on the presentations, but also to give you a chance to take a small break. We'll adjust as we go. All the presentations are pre-recorded, so we have hopefully no internet issues or anything. And the speaker will be available at the end of each presentation. Will be available live at the end of each presentation to answer your questions. You can submit comments or questions anytime during the presentations using the comments area on the broadcast page. We will post the final recordings and presentations of all the sessions next week, so you can replay at your convenience and share with your colleagues. So the Sigmafine Summit for the Americas has officially started. Sit back and relax. Don't forget to submit your comments and questions as we go. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Massimo Galli, our Global VP of Sales. Massimo will set the stage for the summit by walking you through the life cycle of streaming data and events into usable data sets, which we call digital asset, and discuss real-life examples showing how such digital assets constitute the last mile to actionable insights in many operational and business contexts. Welcome, Massimo, to the summit.
Thank you, Bernard, and welcome everyone. I'm connected from the Milan office of Pimsoft, and it's my pleasure. Sorry about this inconvenience. Just a moment. Okay, we are back. Okay, and it's my pleasure today to introduce the theme of the summit, which is transforming data into digital asset. I know that today there are several customers and partners connected, but we have also a certain number of professionals who are entering for the first time the Sigmafine ecosystem. And therefore, in discussing the topic of transforming data into digital asset, I will map those concepts into the Sigmafine and SigmafineHub capabilities. And also will be sharing a certain number of Sigmafine customer success stories. So let's get started. So let's go through the agenda. First, we'll see the definition of what a digital asset is, and then we will examine how Sigmafine can manage, measure, and monetize digital assets in an industrial context. And finally, I'll introduce the SigmafineHub as the digital asset factory. In the context of digital initiatives, Gartner predicts that through 2025, 80% of the organizations seeking to scale digital businesses will fail because they do not take a modern approach to data and analytics governance. At Pimsoft, we believe that the transformation of streaming data and events into usable datasets is the cornerstone of actionable insights in the process industries and an essential requirement of digital transformation initiatives. But first, let's recall the basic definition of digital asset, which is digital in nature, it is uniquely identifiable, and it is used to generate economic value to the company. The advent of digital assets has resulted in the emergence of a new practice called Infonomics, which is the study of the principles governing the evaluation and deployment of digital assets and giving economic significance to information. Infonomics studies the way we can measure information to be able to monetize it. Mapping these concepts to the industrial domain, we first have to recognize that we deal with process and manufacturing data, and that any source of information, being a flow meter, a lab analysis, or a bill of material, is affected by intrinsic error. So the role of Sigmafine is to transform such incoming data into reliable datasets suitable to sustain different company processes. But let's define the industrial digital asset factory in terms of its component. First, we rely on a model. The model is the representation of the set of process and business assets we are dealing with and how they are interconnected to each other. Second, we need to define a time rule for our analysis. This can be periodic, from nearly real time to monthly period, or it can be by event or by batch. Third, we need to define the properties we are dealing with. Those can be physical properties like volume, mass, components, energy, or even business properties like ownership. Then it is very important to assign a degree of belief to the source of information we are going to process. The degree of belief represents the level of confidence on the processed data, the level of trust we have on such data. And finally, we have a set of metrics applicable to the dataset our factory is producing. Such metrics are defining how good is the performance of the factory itself. Our factory performs a set of dataset operations which transform raw data into a trustable industrial dataset. Some of those operations are quite simple and intuitive, like filtering the data or identifying gross errors or validate the data against certain rules and criteria. Then we would like to implement certain rules to substitute bad data with alternate values using design data or using historical data. The resultant dataset will then be reconciled according to the physical constraint based on the selected properties. We may want to reconcile based on mass or energy, and we may want to apply such constraint to different envelopes. And the result of data reconciliation will be to obtain a first dataset closing the balance across the envelopes we selected. Thanks to data reconciliation, we can even infer data it was not possible to measure because of lack of instrumentation on the field. And finally, based on the reconciled dataset, we may want to apply tracking capabilities to track properties like composition or, as we said, ownership. The execution of the data transformation steps around the model generates over time the sequence of industrial datasets together with their metrics. This is what has been defined as the single version of the truth, but we prefer to refer to it as the system of record of the company, embedding the accurate description of the properties related to the company assets over time. The last step of the data transformation journey is about shaping data. Most consumers will not be able to digest the dataset as it is, so our factory needs to be able to shape and augment the dataset in order to be able to be consumed by different actors. Many scenarios see Sigmafine feeding finance with generated production and consumption data to move ERP stocks, sending reconciled yield vectors back to the planning and scheduling department, preparing compliance report for tax and environmental authorities, and reshaping the dataset in order to feed the advanced analytics and machine learning layer with trustable data for better prediction. In all cases, it is extremely relevant to provide the metrics certifying that the dataset we are delivering is good enough to be considered trustable. Being able to measure the industrial dataset means to be able to certify the reliability of the data delivered to the different consumers. It is also a means to keep our digital asset factory under control. Sigmafine produces a certain set of indicators, some of them at model level, others related to the points of measurement and the points of balance within the model itself. They are segmenting the performance of the factory across different perspectives, like redundancy, correction, tolerance, solvability. We would like to take the opportunity to encourage the Sigmafine community to use those indicators more and more. As we'll see, these metrics are the ones you can use to build the trust between the factory and the dataset consumers and within the factory itself. The first example of usage of model metrics is from MOL. MOL is an integrated oil and gas corporation. They are tracking and historicizing the Sigmafine generated model matrix to their PI system. In such a way, they can track historical performance of their industrial dataset factory. and they can assess how modification to the model or improvement in the measurement system can impact the performance of the model itself. Another example of usage of such indicators is from Slovnet, a large refinery located in Slovakia. Slovnet is tracking Sigmafine Test 1 metric. Test 1 provides an indication of the correction to tolerance ratio for the points of measurement of the model. And by monitoring these indicators on a monthly basis, they are able to identify suspicious meter, which could be subject of an inspection by the maintenance department. So we have discussed how to manage and measure industrial digital assets. Now we'll go through monetization. Infonomics defines monetization according to two main categories, indirect and direct. Indirect monetization refers to the internal usage of digital assets in order to drive better business, process, and organizational decision-making, which ultimately drive better economics. This could be the case of advanced analytics optimizing certain production processes based on reliable datasets. Direct monetization instead refers to the exchange of digital assets with external entity consumers, with the objective to obtain an economic return or to avoid a financial loss. But let's map this concept to the industrial digital asset context. With regards to external monetization, we have several cases where Sigmafine-generated datasets are used in the relationship with third parties. This is done, for example, in compliance, whenever validated datasets are required by tax and environmental authorities. In joint venture, instead, it is required to allocate consumption and production among the different players of the joint venture. So this is the case where ownership tracking is used. Also, custody transfer checks is an area where Sigmafine-generated data is used to provide the background justification to sustain disputes against third parties, mainly supplier. Instead, on the internal monetization side, we have typical cases involving the use of Sigmafine dataset to improve process operation, reduce consumption and losses, avoid losses of profit, and product contamination. Let's go through some real cases. So let's see a case of external monetization which involves compliance. In the case of compliance, Philips 66, as many other quoted oil and gas corporations, must comply with SOX. And SOX is a legislation requiring management to take the responsibility to establish internal controls over the data impacting the company economics. This involves inventory data generated by Sigmafine. To cover this aspect, Philips 66 decided to track the model data quality indicators and to establish an organizational workflow to explain and approve any discrepancy. For example, if this discrepancy is due to a unit upset or to a planned unit startups and shutdown activities. The report is reviewed and approved every month by the finance manager and serves as an evidence in the case of audit to achieve compliance and avoid sanctions. So discussing instead about internal monetization, let us to the case of Orpic. Orpic is an oil and gas integrated company located in Oman, and they started their Sigmafine journey in 2015, and they reported their initial figures about uncertainty in the coming data, about the discrepancy between the plan and actual performances, and about the figures related to the full consumption and losses. And after 3 years of usage of Sigmafine, they reported a certain optimization in such refinery indicators because they were able to reduce the uncertainty, and this can sound obvious for a software like Sigmafine, but also where they were able to be more coherent between plan and actual performance, and more important, they were able to reduce the figures about fuel consumption and losses. The second case about internal monetization is again from Slovnet. In this case, we see this is a point of view more related to the process itself. So they were calculating the conversion factor of the vacuum residue on the residual hydrocracker unit, and this was estimated to be and calculated to be with raw data around 55% more or less. When using Sigmafine over time, they recalculated this conversion factor based on the reconciled data, and they discovered that it was more or less 1% less. So in this case, they realized that probably they were over-evaluating the capability of their process unit, and they are considering to install a correlation meter to gather better measurement around that area. And this is a clear case of Sigmafine having helped the company to avoid a continuous loss of profit, because 1% of conversion calculated based on the market price would mean 1-2 million per year for the refinery. We went through the process of managing, measuring, and monetizing industrial digital assets. In Pimsoft, we believe SigmafineHub is the foundation to elevate such process to be a well-controlled industrial dataset factory. And among the different system capabilities added by SigmafineHub, I would like to underline the ones I believe are the most impacting. First of all, SigmafineHub introduces the capability to augment the knowledge of the system itself. It is possible, therefore, to add specific rules and behaviors to build a shared company data management practice. Second, we learn from our customer that Ryan, I guess that the video ended before end, so we missed a few slides. So
Okay, so let's maybe while Ryan is trying to recover this, let's continue the discussion. So essentially, I think you're making the point that today everybody is looking for advanced analytics, but at the same time, they're suffering from a lack of organization and data quality. How do you position Sigmafine and the role of Pimsoft and its partners in that journey of our customers?
Yeah, it's true that in the world today, many digitalization initiatives are fueled by the promise of prediction and prescription generated by the advanced analytics domain. And we believe that there is a need for trustable data set to be processed by such analytics. And this need is evident in order to have such prediction converging to reliable outcomes. So I would say that Sigmafine is the software technology enabling and empowering advanced analytics and give a burst of trust and reliability to the outcomes those advanced analytics are generating. And by the way, today I see we have an agenda case where Sigmafine is being coupled with an advanced analytics technology with the aim to obtain more accurate prediction and key performance indicators.
Okay, thank you, Massimo. Let's check with Ryan to see if we have...
apologies, but it seems that version had the end of it cut off. I need to download the other version.
Okay.
Do we want to wait for that, or
no? Let's go. If we're ready for the next presentation, Ryan, let's go for it. And maybe at the end we can come back and kind of wrap it up with Massimo. We'll catch up there. In any event, the full presentation will be available on the summit site next week. Okay. So thank you, Massimo.
Thank you.
Sorry about the inconvenience.
Enjoy the rest of the summit.
Yes. We'll see you at the end. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, everyone. So now I'm happy. I would like to welcome Elizabeth Sweeney from Chevron. She will be presenting a case study from the Pascagoula refinery, where Sigmafine is used as a solution to address Chevron's gross margin improvement program, which is a global program for all the refineries. Elizabeth Sweeney, she is the refinery system mass balance lead at Chevron, and has been a frequent contributor to the Sigmafine Summit over the years. I think you will, so those of you who have been with us for a while will recognize her. She has over 20 years of experience in oil and gas accounting, and has held many roles, including foreign trade zone analyst, finance business analyst, oils and planning business analyst, stock accounting analyst, etc., etc. She graduated from the University of South Alabama with a Bachelor of Science. At the end of the presentation, she will be joined by a colleague, Maggie Eves. Maggie is currently the mass balance engineer at that refinery of Chevron in Pascagoula, where she supports refinery operation, and she's actually the person who has the hands-on has her hands on the system on a day-to-day basis. Maggie is also a graduate from MSU with a Bachelor in Chemical Engineering. So let me, if we're ready, Ryan, we can introduce the presentation of Elizabeth.
Hello, my name is Elizabeth Sweeney. I'm the Mass Balance Advisor for Chevron Downstream Manufacturing. Today I'd like to talk to you about how Chevron is using Sigmafine to improve gross margin at our refineries. I'll start with telling you a little bit about Chevron's refineries and then Chevron's Sigmafine journey. I'll talk about current Sigmafine projects within Chevron, our business objectives, including the users, business data customers, and architecture, and then I'll do a brief summary. Chevron operates 5 refineries that produce a variety of fuels, base oils, and other products. Together, Chevron's refineries can process almost 1 million barrels of crude oil per day. Our first refinery was built in Richmond, California in 1902. Our second in El Segundo, California in 1911. In 1948, we built the Salt Lake City, Utah refinery. In 1963, the Pascagoula refinery was built, and that is currently Chevron's largest refinery in the U.S. And then recently, we acquired in 2019 the Pasadena refinery in Texas. It was originally built in 1919. So Chevron's journey with Sigmafine started over 20 years ago. So prior to 2010, we had various independent projects. In Pascagoula around 2001, we initiated the Rambo project, which was the Refinery Accounting Mass Balance Optimization project. It was our initial Sigmafine deployment for Chevron. It also included implementation of the OSI products, the PI Systems process book. Those were all installed. And focus there was to replace our legacy inventory and yield accounting systems. Later on in 2008, in El Segundo, we upgraded to Sigmafine 4.5. And then we also developed some software that served as the front end to Sigmafine. We called it Promise, which is Process Monitoring Information System. And then at the time, we had Pembroke Refinery in the United Kingdom. They had Aspen's Advisor that they were using for mass balance. Then in 2011, we had the Global Manufacturing Mass Balance Project. This expanded the use of Sigmafine to all of the equity refineries. We started doing daily mass balances. Sigmafine was chosen over the Advisor application because of better support and more recent investment, and it was more easily integrated into our existing OSI PI infrastructure. And today we're expanding the use of Sigmafine to enhance refinery performance monitoring and improve our gross margin. Within Chevron, we use refinery-wide mass balances. So we're using Sigmafine to reconcile hydrocarbon movements within the refinery boundary, which includes feed and product meters for the process units, tank inventory and transfers within the refinery boundary. And then we're also looking at boundary movements like marine, pipeline, truck, and rail car shipments and receipts. We include all hydrocarbon streams within the refinery, but we do not do a fuel gas system balance, and we do not currently include water or steam. We're monitoring refinery imbalances on a midnight to midnight basis. And we perform 2 types of reconciliation. So we're doing the mass balance analysis rule, and we're also using composition tracking analysis for our crude tanks. The primary metric that we track on a day-to-day basis is the DX1. So that is calculated by Sigmafine, and we target less than 5% on a daily case. So I wanted to talk to you about 2 of the projects that are currently in flight within Chevron, the Oils Movement Program and the Gross Margin Improvement Project. So I'll start off with the Oils Movement Program. I talked a little bit about this a couple of years ago in the Sigmafine Summit. The program is a collection of projects that include 6 work streams. The first is tank field management, which is kind of the internal refinery movements. And then Secondly is the marine movement and scheduling. So that includes dock management and dock scheduling. The next work stream is rail and truck movements. We also looked at meter flow compensation and then production accounting and mass balance. So the goal of the oils movement program is to replace our obsolete marine scheduling, oils movement, mass balance, and production accounting systems. It's actually part of our digital transformation. The goal was to provide an integrated set of standard systems to meet all of our functional requirements while reducing the cost of ownership by using sustainable vendor solutions. So as you can see at the diagram over to the right, we had a variety of different applications at each site. We were using a collection of Excel spreadsheets, different applications from one site to the other. Some applications didn't integrate with other applications. So oils movement was really all about standardizing the applications and picking applications that would communicate well with one another and that we had dependable vendors who could support those solutions. Under the oils movement program, as we started to study our infrastructure, we realized that we were going to need a few more applications to fill the gap that Promise was going to leave when we decommissioned it. So a couple of the things that we picked up, one was the Sigmafine integration framework. So we needed that to connect to a variety of source systems. So that being Yardmaster for the rail cars, we had the Honeywell profit movements management that was giving us all of our tank to tank, unit tank, blending pipeline and marine movements. That will connect with MES to give the marine movements. And then we also have our meter data coming in. We're also looking at an SAP integration to pull some truck information down from SAP. So all of that's going to be processed through the Sigmafine integration framework. We are using at least a portion of the intelligent movement management software to provide a tank calculator. Several of our users just needed to, quickly calculate a volume from a gauge reading. So we put in this. We used parts of Intelligent Movement Management to give them a web-based application to do a tank calculator. And then through the integration framework, we were running our Sigmafine models. Under oils movement, we did have to update our models because they didn't have everything in there that was needed to produce a refinery stock balance for finance. And then on the back end, we needed to be able to report the results. So we needed the Sigmafine SQL access. So we're writing to Pi and to SQL using the Sigmafine SQL access. So the information that we write to Pi are the reconciled mass and volume that comes out of the model, and then everything that's in the model, including the tables and everything, goes into the SQL database, and then that's available for external reports. We also have a backend integration for SAP. We needed to be able to send the monthly production numbers to SAP for gross margin calculations. The second project I wanted to talk about today is the Gross Margin Improvement Project. So this project was initiated in late 2019. However, due to the pandemic, much of the work had to be completed remotely. Although it was timed right, as a result of the pandemic lockdowns, the demand for refined products fell sharply, which led to negative margins for much of 2020. In addition to that, Chevron cut nearly 15% of our workforce. So we had to learn quickly how to better utilize our resources and our technology. So gross margin was key to that. The objective was to move lagging and average processes to industry best in practice so that we could unlock additional gross margin at our refineries. There were two focus areas: planning improvement and performance monitoring. Within the planning improvement section, we looked at feedstock selection, AOP, which is our area operating plan and price forecasting. And then under performance monitoring, we looked at material balance and monitoring, backcasting, and constraint management. So we wanted to target leading best practice for material balance and monitoring. And we're going to do this through daily balances and yields that reconcile the fence line stock balance with process units to produce an accurate single version of the truth. So Sigmafine is at the core of the material balance and monitoring capability. The gross margin improvement project was completed first at the Pascagoula refinery, and we're now implementing the GMI tools and processes at El Segundo and Richmond refineries. Data component architecture. So we already kind of had the source systems under oils movement and those connecting into Sigmafine. So now that SQL database is accessible to the new tools that were being built for gross margin improvement. So we're combining information from Sigmafine with information from our planning tools, Petro APS, and then that we created a new set of reports and dashboards that are accessible to everyone in the refinery, including management and corporate. Gross margin improvement is about more than just producing Power BI dashboards. We realized early on that work process reviews and change management were going to be key to the adoption of the tools and to the overall success of the project. One of the things that we did for change management was develop these day in the life narratives to help with the transition. I won't go through every detail on here, but we have a day in the life snapshot was kind of like, what does this person do on a daily, weekly, or monthly basis? This one in particular is for stock accounting. So it kind of gives a brief description of their role and how they're going to shift from working the way they used to work to using the new GMI tools and processes. And we really wanted to focus on how this person can drive value through gross margin improvement. So time savings was a big one for finance. They spent a lot of time compiling, gathering information, making spreadsheets and reports. So we wanted to give them the dashboard so that they don't spend as much time on gathering the data, but they can spend more time using the analytics and gaining insights from the data. There's an awful lot more coordination and collaboration with the oils planning. Before, finance was kind of in a silo. They did their own thing, and then they sent the report to oils planning at the end of the month, and then oils planning, did what they did with it. There's a whole lot more communication and collaboration between the two groups now, and we're moving towards this one source of truth, which increases the trust in the data. So a big thing is oils planning and finance are now using the same tool to produce stock balances. And that has really led to people trusting the data more than they did before. So this is another day in the life narrative that we put together for the mass balance engineer role. The mass balance engineer drives value through this gross margin improvement project by enabling better data quality and more trust in the data. So the mass balance engineer is responsible for running the daily cases, and they provide accurate stock balance, providing foundations to enable improved downstream processes. So we kind of moved from only focusing in on the DX1 to more looking at the refinery liquid volume recovery every day. So that gives you a better indication really of how good your case is. Proactive troubleshooting and addressing equipment and unit issues daily to drive cost savings. We would find these things in our old process, but they weren't found on the day they happened. They might be found a week later or a month later or several months later. So we're catching these things faster now and addressing them sooner, which has really been an improvement. And then enabling greater visibility into the yields. So we're really getting into yield analysis now, where before it was just kind of ad hoc. So this has really been a huge improvement. So we now have a wider array of business data customers, obviously including oils planning and finance, but now expanded to operations, process control, process engineering, instrumentation maintenance. Environmental kind of was a big surprise when we went through the gross margin improvement work process studies. There's an awful lot of information that gets pulled out of the stock balance for environmental reporting and out of the mass balance for environmental. And government reporting was another one. So we're now pulling the EIA reports that have to be done out of the GMI tools. So in summary, Chevron is transforming production accounting and data reconciliation systems and work processes. The Sigmafine system is now part of Chevron's core business processes, no longer a discretionary work process. And we've experienced a significant reduction in time due to the elimination of redundant work processes and moving towards one version of the truth for stock balances. So thank you for your time today.
Very good. Thank you, Elizabeth, for this very good presentation. We're happy to have you participate in our summit again this year. And now if we have questions from the audience, we will just run through them. Maggie, as I said initially, has joined us for this Q&A, and she's as I understand it, she's the person who's making it happen at Pascagoula under this program. So first question, what percentage of accuracy was improved by implementing this tool as at mentioned refineries?
So I can start talking about that one. We didn't really measure it as a percentage improvement. What we were doing before is we would run daily mass balance cases, and we really just looked at the DX1. So if our DX1 was under 5%, we thought, oh, that's a pretty good case. Let's go ahead and publish it. But once we started including more of the boundary of the refinery and started looking at the stock balance as a whole every day, what we really started focusing in on was our liquid volume recovery. So we got comfortable with what a normal liquid volume recovery was for the refinery. And if that liquid volume recovery starts to get out of line, then we would start looking for problems in the case. When we first started testing cases, one of the big finds that we had was a big tank inventory issue that we had where a gauge had gotten stuck, and it just, finance wouldn't have caught it. I'm not sure that we would have caught it in the way we were doing the way we had our models built previously. So that was a big find for us. A lot of what we're finding is inventory issues where people would just like go out to PI, pull in the volume, and then report that volume without really doing any sort of checking on it or validation to make sure that it was correct. We're finding a lot more tank issues than we realized we had. So that's improving the quality of our stock balances.
Thank you. Next question. How many Excel spreadsheets that were being done by process engineers were you able to replace with this initiative?
So most of the spreadsheets that we replaced were really spreadsheets that finance and environmental were maintaining. Okay. So I would say at least a dozen spreadsheets that we were able to get rid of with the gross margin improvement project.
And I'll add to that. So a couple of years ago, before we even started this gross margin and oils movement process, we started migrating PE away from process engineering, away from their manual spreadsheets. But there was still a lot of lack of trust in the data, and so that's what we've been focusing on this year: is getting the trust in the data. Increasing that trust, showing that there's value, working really closely with process engineering so they're not doing manual stock balances or manual math balances anymore. So while we've already started that transition away from spreadsheets, we realized it was still occurring as well. So that's kind of been the key improvement, is just getting the trust in the data so they don't go back to their spreadsheets.
Yeah. So I understand that's still an ongoing challenge right now. Thank you. Ryan, do we have any other questions? What has been the most unexpected value realized from the implementation of this this solution or this program, maybe I should say?
I think I'll let Maggie take that one.
I think I think a lot of surprises have come from the process and the implementation we've been doing this year, from, understanding everything that goes into our environmental and government reporting, the amount of accuracy that we needed. I don't think a lot of people realize that the mass balance can directly tie into that. So not only do we have updated information, we've got automated process now, but even down to the process engineering level. If you ask any process engineer, they're going to say, yeah, I know my instrumentation's right. But when we started doing deeper dives into the mass balance model with our new process and our new tools, we started realizing maybe we have a lot more instrumentation that's bad than what we realize. And so that kind of really opened people's eyes on, hey, we really need to understand what's going on in this refinery more than we currently do.
Okay, very good. So this was like an iceberg where some of it was not showing really. Yes,
right.
Good. Any other questions? How difficult was it to expand the use of Sigmafine into individual process units and doing, yields at the process unit level?
Yeah, so now this is finance actually.
So we had already had process units embedded into our old models. The challenge was adding all the stuff that we needed for the boundary, because there were sections of the refinery that we just hadn't modeled before, and we had to connect the individual units to that boundary. But I think that's where we've really gotten the value, is making that connection between the boundary stock balance and the internal units.
I agree, and I'll add on to that as well. It had been a long time since we had maybe checked the accuracy of our process units in the Sigmafine model. So we've really also tried to make an effort this year of making sure what's actually out in the field is accurate, right? So it's a little bit more accurate. So that's also been an initiative we've been working on. It's just making sure what we're modeling is what's out in the field, because a lot has changed since we initially built the model several years ago.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. Ryan, how much savings in dollars on an annual basis has been accomplished? If you're able to say something.
Yeah. So I don't know that we've actually tracked it on an annualized basis. When we do have things come up, we try to calculate what the impact gross margin is for that particular incident. Haggy, I don't know if you have anything more specific.
I think I've told somebody one time, enough to pay out my salary for several years going forward. So yeah, that was, we've had unexpected catches, that was probably once every 10, 15-year catches. And then we have everyday catches that do add up every time. And so that's some of the learnings we're realizing is, we don't want to get back to a place where we're having these issues that are large cost incidents. We want to keep any kind of savings, we want to keep it on a minimum, because that means the process is healthy and it's working and we're being more proactive versus reactive.
Excellent. Any more questions, Ryan? Can you elaborate specifically on how this affects instrumentation maintenance and process engineering?
So
Maggie, I'll let you take that one.
So from instrumentation maintenance, I think we have gone from one extreme to the next over the last several years. We used to always work on instrumentation to going on only working on what's deemed critical, and so now we're actually trying to use the mass balance in this new process and our new tools to help us identify which ones are the most economic to go after, which ones do we need to go after, right? If you've got 4 redundant meters, then you can have 1 or 2 that are bad. But when you have all 4 bad, you don't want to be in that state. So we're trying to build a process to bring awareness to at what point do we start working on instrumentation. And also putting the expectation that bad instrumentation is not just mass balance job. It's not just one department's job. It's actually the entire facility really needs to be on board to making sure our instrumentation's up to date and providing us good data. And so that's some kind of the conversations we've been having with process engineering is, the mass balance model is a tool and a resource you can utilize to help making sure you're looking at correct data and the right data and making the correct recommendations to management. And we've given that same feedback to management that this is kind of a one team effort and it's not just one person, kind of how it historically has been in the past.
Excellent. Any more questions? What is the time reduced due to the automatic integration of information with integration framework?
So I can take that one. So when I talked a little bit about reducing our manpower last year, in Pascagoula we had 2 stock accountants who were doing a lot of manual data entry and calculations that were completely outboard of Sigmafine. In the renewal effort, when we lost 15% of our workforce, we lost a stock accountant. So we had to figure out, what do we need to do to automate in order to get this process done every day? So we basically took a whole FTE worth of work away from the finance team by doing the automation.
Excellent. Thank you. Any more questions, Ryan? You mentioned catching things faster now. Can you give us an example?
I can take this one. So a great example where we found using this new process to catch things faster. We've got a unit that is very flexible in terms of the feedstocks and products it can make. And so back in June, we did a swap on modes, and we thought it went great, went perfect, but some things looked a little off. So we were able to use the mass balance model to prove that this feed slate swap had not gone exactly per plan. It was really just relying on a manual valve that no one could really track. And so we were able to use the mass balance process to identify we had an incorrect routing. That probably would have taken a lot longer to figure out had we not had the mass balance model and using it for the new process.
Okay, very good. I think this was the last question. I have to thank and congratulate both of you for this very good presentation and for putting all the effort in being here today and preparing this presentation. Thank you very much.
Thanks
for
for
your
having us.
Thank you. Okay, next step. Our next presentation is about Sigmafine Studio. As I mentioned at the beginning, Sigmafine Studio is a new product of Pimsoft, and it's on the Sigmafine roadmap as something to be released soon. So we'd like to introduce this product today during our summit. And in order to do so, we will have Marco Lenteri and Elena Mola from our European office present to you both the business case and some example of use cases for Sigmafine Studio. And you will learn more as well. You will learn more during the product roadmap presentation, how this fits into the rest of the other product releases that are coming. But for the time being, this presentation is focusing on the new capabilities of this product.
Good morning, and thank you for joining us today. 1 year ago, we presented the SigmafineHub, a platform that accompanies customers in their digital transformation journey towards operational and business performance improvement, and that provides a scalable, extensible, and adaptive framework for data analysis. SigmafineHub preserves the investment of customers in building models and developing analytics. Along this year, our development team has done a tremendous work on the platform, and today it is our pleasure to talk about the values that the new application Sigmafine Studio can bring to you. Elena will make this even more clear, showing some examples of how your Sigmafine environment can be further enriched through the power of Sigmafine Studio. As you know, the SigmafineHub platform is a multi-year development project which is changing the way we will use and consume Sigmafine data. transforming data into digital assets is not only the Sigmafine Summit title, it is also the objective that is leading this initiative. 2 applications have already been released and are available within the SigmafineHub. Visualizer, the web frontend for Sigmafine users, and Admin, the administration module of SigmafineHub. Many others are in development under the hood. Today, Pimsoft is increasing the SigmafineHub portfolio, announcing the new Sigmafine Studio, which will be officially released end of this year. Make sure to stay connected after this presentation and don't miss the product roadmap presentation from our product development team for more insights. Let's recall some of the pillars that are driving the full Sigmafine initiative. First of all, knowledge augmentation, which means deeper insights on the results you get with Sigmafine and better awareness when taking decisions based on this data. Collaboration. Never like in these years of physical separation, having a collaborative environment has been of paramount importance. SigmafineHub is natively designed to facilitate the interaction of people in a full web environment. We want to go even beyond the single organization, and more on this at the end of this presentation. Last but not least, we want to simplify our users' everyday life. So even complex calculations and analysis shall be made transparent, accessible, and easy to use to the end user. This is done for a common objective: bring value for everyone, customers, partners, and Pimsoft. Customers will have an enhanced user experience, better insights with the final objective to achieve qualitative superior results in less time. Partners will be empowered to build more features within the product itself, increasing the value that they can deliver when executing Sigmafine projects. Pimsoft will have a solid base to expand Sigmafine features and capabilities over time. Sigmafine Studio truly enables transforming Sigmafine datasets into digital assets. Through an extract, transform, and load approach, Sigmafine Studio reshapes the Sigmafine dataset, making it accessible in different ways, for example, through analytics, built-in reports, and interactive dashboards. SigmafineHub can describe the digital assets in several ways all at once. Not only a graphical model and an asset database, but also tabular views, interactive dashboards, and charts. This capability enables users to flexibly access and consume even complex datasets in the way that suits them best. The ability to create custom analytics with a zero-coding approach and the possibility to consume results directly in a familiar environment such as the visualizer make Sigmafine Studio the ideal application to reshape Sigmafine according to the different business requirements that it is asked to meet. It is a continuation of the Sigmafine long-standing story and of its unique capability of being both multi-industry and multi-purpose. Take the time to visit our recently redesigned website to know more about Sigmafine applications in several different industries. As everything is seamlessly integrated, the end result is a smooth user experience and a product coherence. Not a collection of applications anymore, but one unified environment. We are launching today Sigmafine Studio as a new app, but to say the truth, Studio is really at the core of the SigmafineHub initiative, and it is pervasively used to support complex searches through the Visualizer search toolbar, for the creation and execution of quick calculations in the customized asset setting of each user, to a rich tabular and graphical representation of data through dashboards, and interactive reporting. And here is Elena to tell you more.
With this demo, I'm going to show you some situations where the Sigmafine Studio web app really improves the way you look at your Sigmafine dataset. First of all, you can see that the Sigmafine Studio is fully integrating the SigmafineHub, and results are accessible by other SigmafineHub web apps like Visualizer. So you can go with your daily Sigmafine activities, such as open the display and select the case and start analyzing the data. It is not new, the Sigmafine provides a set of statistical indicators that helps you in analyzing your data for the diagnostic. But then you have to dedicate some time in realizing where the issue is, which data is missing, and most important, how to solve. Thanks to the Sigmafine Studio web app, you have now the power to develop some logic through the usage of the Studio Analytic that support your manual routines during all the process of data validation. Let's consider a very common situation that I'm pretty sure it can sound familiar to you. It may happen that some measurements in your site, for many reasons, return 0 or bad data. Now, imagine how useful it can be to have your analytic that returns the list of these measurements along your model in a sort of interactive summary table, and then make a comparison with their values in the previous case, with no need to spend time in closing the current case, open the previous one, and manually searching for the values you are interested in. Also, it would be incredibly advantageous to have some suggestions on the possible actions to take in order to solve the situation, for example, by adjusting the current value with the previous. And you can easily decide which actions to apply or not. Another common situation happens when you are analyzing your dataset and you notice a node, a tank, or process unit with a huge imbalance. You can start analyzing your data using the diagnostic panel inside the SigmafineHub. And here you have the overview of all the statistical indicators. You can see that there is already something related to the ethanol receipt area. The meter has a value of test 1 very high. This means that the correction applied by Sigmafine to the measured mass is very high respect to the tolerance that you assign to your meter, as well as you can see the node as a test 3 very high, together with the test 4. These two indicators inform the users that maybe there is a problem in this area. But then with the Sigmafine Studio, you can easily decide not only to identify such imbalance points along your model, but also you can associate some suggestions. So you can have here the list of the imbalanced point that you have in your along your model. In this case, you notice that it's providing you the same information as the diagnostic gave you, but here, in addition, you can associate a suggested action. So maybe, okay, it tells you that the node ethanol here is imbalanced, but it also tells you that probably there is a missing input transfer. And when you analyze the area, you can notice that a transfer is missing from the receive point to the node. Of course, this information can significantly reduce the time you spend on not only identify the problem itself, but also the solution to adopt. In this case, if you click, you can create your missing transfer, putting the source, the destination. You can even add some attributes if you want, or you can just create it. Here it is. The new transfer is now available, also in the model. And now you can run again your case. Now let me show you how the Sigmafine Studio extends and overcomes the way you are used to visualize the Sigmafine dataset. Here you see an interactive dashboard showing the movements that happen at your boundaries in both graphical and tabular view. And depending on your need, you can decide to group them by type so that you can have the detail of all the shipment movements with their source or destination, the material that happened, and the receipt. Or you can even decide to group by material in case you're interested to check all the movements that happen for a specific material. And please notice that the two views are not separate, but they can interact. So by clicking on one material in the graph, the table updates consequently. Or also, you can monitor the unit production yield, both in tabular and graphical view, in such a way that you can investigate not only the production yield per each unit, simply by dragging and dropping the unit column, so that you can see per each unit the material produced in terms of produced amount, quantity, and yield in percentage, but also the overall productions per material in the graph that you can see here, together with the process unit where they came from. For example, you can easily check that the overhead production is done by 3 different process units with their respective quantities. And you can access to the same information also from here by grouping by material and searching for the material you are interested to. Furthermore, you can decide to go more in detail for the single unit and to select your desired unit and then open a more detailed. And if you want to go more in detail with the unit production yield, you can even select the unit you are interested in and access to the same information, but referred to only and filtered only for the unit that you select, so that you can see here in graphical and in tabular view the yield of the crude unit refer to the material produced by the unit, their quantity, and their yield in percentage. Till now, I showed you examples that apply to the balance analysis. But of course, the Sigmafine Studio supports even more advanced calculations. For instance, let's consider a composition tracking analysis that calculates the material composition of tanks, flows and transfers based on their initial composition and the movements that happen during the analysis time frame. Thanks to the Sigmafine Studio, you can create an effective way to visualize and analyze the composition data of an element, for example, this tank, together with the material balance data within the same interactive dashboard. So you can have a complete overview of both the balance and the material composition. In terms of what enters to the tank, the input this tank has to transfer that enters, and the material detail. So at the end, you can access to all this information, and the composition tracking table results are visualized through a pie graph that update according to the selected elements. So you can even access to the composition that enters the tank. For example, this movement is input, is entering to the tank and is made 100% by West Texas sour. While by clicking here on the tank, you can access to the composition tracking results table of the tank. And the pie graph is useful because here any unexpected material will jump to the eye. Also, you can have a complete overview of all the materials that you have stored in your model based on the composition tracking results. You can see the material summary report that shows you in both tabular and graphical way. You can visualize all the material summary that you have with their respective quantity, so the total amount that you have in the model, or also can be very useful to see the details of the materials by tank. The tank 1, for example, is made of 3 materials, the Arab Superlight, the West Texas Sour, West Texas Intermediate, and here, in one click, you can visualize directly their quantity, respectively, with no need to select the attribute and expand the table of composition tracking results. Everything is directly reported here in the same SigmafineHub environment. And finally, at the end, you can have the detail per each tank of the materials that you have stored. And this is an interactive dashboard. As you can see, by clicking here, it tells you the same information in graphical view. So it automatically updates, giving you the data that you want to see. Back to you, Marco.
It's really amazing what Sigmafine Studio is enabling. Elena showed us analytics that help users not only to root cause the problem, but even propose solutions. Interactive reports that provide insights on the assets and on the overall balance envelope. Dashboards that interpret complex datasets, such as contextualize the results of composition tracking. And everything available at your fingertips without stepping out of the visualizer so that you can immediately take actions. And that is really awesome. But there is more. I'm pretty sure, whilst looking at the demo, that in your mind you were already thinking about what you could do if Studio were available in your Sigmafine environment right now. Well, you could say, I could create the refinery loss report. I could see all the metal grades of each stockpile all at once. I could compare in one table the LNG production of all my trains. I could put intelligence to pre-validate the reconciliation before Sigmafine users even reach the office. You could really do cool things without stepping out of Sigmafine. We want to leverage the experience and the creativity of each one of you, customers, partners, and Pimsoft consultants, and create a true Sigmafine community. SigmafineHub, and especially Sigmafine Studio, will be at the heart of this new Sigmafine vision. Number of analytics developed with Sigmafine Studio will increase over time for sure. So what if we create a way of breaking the boundaries and share the knowledge? Do you see the potential value and return on investment each of you could achieve? This is an idea we would like to develop in the next years, involving all the parties. Come back to us after this presentation. We want to have your opinion, feedback, and suggestions to make this a truly successful journey. Thank you and enjoy the rest of the summit.
Okay, thank you, Marco. Thank you, Elena. Good afternoon to both of you, and thank you for joining us for
Good morning.
the Q&A. Yes. Ryan, do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, one question. Is SigmafineHub the same as Sigmafine Studio?
No, not exactly. Let's say that Sigmafine Studio is a part of SigmafineHub. So SigmafineHub is the full platform, which is hosting several web applications. We have seen the visualizer, the admin, and now Studio as well. So it's one of the different web apps which are part of SigmafineHub.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Does Sigmafine Studio provide the ability to automatically build a pretty display? Building the graphic for a large model today is a tedious and time-consuming task.
Well, I can answer, yes. The Sigmafine Studio, the scope is to support the user for the data diagnostic. Now I understand that this question regards building a model in sense building a display, meaning the graphical display that is used, for example, with now the process book or also the SigmafineHub visualizer. So let's say that is a different scope. Sigmafine Studio can support mainly for during the way how you can see at your data set, not only the display of the model.
Yeah, so it's in the end, it's for the consumption of Sigmafine data for better analysis on the results of Sigmafine. It's not for building models.
Yeah, Sigmafine Visualizer is the way to render display in a SigmafineHub context, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Display in the sense that people are used to in using the process book add-in. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yes.
And how pretty they are, I guess it depends how good the person building the display is, I suppose.
Yeah, yes. Let's say that is coming with some templatized
graphical object that you can easily embed in the reports. We have seen some histograms, some pie charts, some tables. I mean, the product is still under development, so probably you will get more about this, as I said, during the product roadmap presentation. But however, let's say it's increasing progressively the number of pretty items you can use.
Good, thank you. Any other questions, Brian? Does Sigmafine Studio support layers as ProcessBook did?
Again, maybe here there is some misunderstanding. It's the visualizer that is supporting layers. So layers are supported by SigmafineHub and especially by visualizer. So Studio then reads the asset configurations and then runs the analytics that you define.
Yes, let's say that the layers are supported by visualizer from a visualization perspective, while are also supported by the studio for the data that regard the layers. So of course, if you have some cases where you have a specific set of layer active, the Sigmafine Studio analytic is run on that layers only.
Okay, thank you. Next question. Okay, how much historical data can be saved on Studio, which can be used for visual analytics or comparative study in the future?
So again, the studio is part of SigmafineHub, so it offers a different way to look at your data set. It's not adding any additional functionality that regards the historical data that can be saved in your Sigmafine server. The data are still saved in your AF, in the Sigmafine server environment.
Is it fair to say that Sigmafine Studio is not a database? It's just a tool that's been integrated into the SigmafineHub to make it a lot easier to use data that was already there in Sigmafine in many instances.
Exactly. Yeah. So then, of course, it can read, let's say, both the active case where you're working, and we have seen an example of that Elena showed before. There was an analytic also giving suggestions in case of bad data and proposing the previous value. So in that case, the analytic was designed to, first of all, find bad data or inconsistencies, and then retrieve the information from the previous case and propose the new value.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Next question. Do this tool smoothen data before processing into final reports?
Yes. Again, it depends. Which kind of analytics you are thinking of, but for sure, the main objective is to streamline and speed up the daily processing, reduce the manual effort in analyzing data and finding replacing bad values, finding gross errors on one side, and also again quickly provide reports. And by report here, I'm not talking of maybe the enterprise reports that you may have in your. So I guess these are still valid from a corporate perspective, and these are the reports outside Sigmafine that are shared among many different users. But more, we've seen inbuilt reports or dashboards that should help in looking at the overall results of the analysis, and so spot immediately if something is wrong and needs to be reprocessed. So I guess we can say yes, it's smoothing the processing.
Yes. Elena, you were going to say something?
No, just to confirm what Marco said.
Yeah. So we break it down into two parts. There's a part that the studio can be used to apply some rules on the data. So in other words, to identify data issues ahead of time or ahead of producing reports. But at the same time, the process of running Sigmafine is giving, let's say, reconciled data, which may not be data that you want to smooth in terms of presentation, if they're correct, if there are no obvious errors in that data. So is that correct?
Yes, it's correct.
Okay. Ryan, next question. Is it possible to create analytics and reports spanning multiple cases? Example, a monthly report.
Well, acquiring data from multiple cases is possible. During the execution of the analytic, it's possible to get data from the previous case. We saw an example before where we were, with the analytic, we were looking to the data in the previous case. So through the Sigmafine code blocks is possible to access multiple selected cases.
Okay, very good. Next question. Can I insert data checks or replacement as an additional step of my reconciliation workflow?
Also in this case, yes, in the SigmafineHub, there are all the steps of the analysis that we all know. So the collect elements, the collect transfer, collect input and run. And with this workflow, it is possible to add the running, the execution also of the analytic.
Okay, good. So the answer is yes, this is feasible.
Yes, basically Studio can control, I mean, each object implemented in SigmafineHub. So adjustments, collect inputs, run, or as Elena said, instead of manually clicking on some analytics that you created, you can just call the analytic and it's automatically executed.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Next question. Okay. So this was this the last question, Ryan? Yes. Okay.
Yes,
Looked like this was the last question. Sorry, I got confused with the timeline here. So thank you, Elena. Thank you, Marco, for putting together this presentation. To our audience, all that magic that you saw in that last presentation will be explained in the next presentation, which is the product development roadmap. But before we go through that, we are just almost on time. So we had scheduled a 5-minute break. So it's 11:23. So we got 7 minutes. So we will be restarting presentations at 11:30 Central Time US with the product development roadmap. So thank you very much for staying with us, and we look forward to continue this in a few minutes.
Just want to point out the product roadmap will be 2 presentations from now. The next presentation will be from Emerson.
Okay, I got something wrong in my schedule. Are we on online? No, you stopped broadcasting now.
We're still broadcasting. We're just in the break right now.
Okay. Okay.
So we're taking a 5-minute break right now, just so anybody who needs to, if they need to go to the restroom or take care of anything, please feel free to do so now. We should be returning back around 11:30.
welcome back, everyone. I have to make a slight adjustment. We had inverted the presentations in my timeline. The next presentation is not the product roadmap. It's a presentation by our partner, Emerson, about a better together story of plant web analytics, known as KNet to some of you, and Sigmafine. So they're going to present a case study of how these two products combined together can drive more value. The speakers are Michael. I have to towards Zillow. Okay, he's product manager at Emerson, and Fida Gelassi, she's senior system integrator also at Emerson Automation Solutions. Michael is has a bachelor degree in science and chemical engineering from the University of Texas at Austin and an MBA from Vanderbilt University. Fida, she has a master's degree in instrumentation and industrial maintenance, and she has spent 7 years working with control systems and products like plant web optics analytics. So without any further delay, let me let the presentation start, and we will have both of them for Q&A at the end.
Hello, thanks so much for coming on to this presentation. So what we're going to be talking about today here at the Sigmafine Summit is the benefits of combining advanced analytics and reconciled data. So this is going to be a case study that involves incorporating our software, Plant Web Optics Analytics, which I'll talk about more in a second, with Sigmafine in order to get better results than each of the software on its own. So just a brief introduction of who we are. So my name is Michael Torzidlo. I'm the product manager for a piece of software here that we have at Emerson called Plant Web Optics Analytics, and we'll talk about that throughout this presentation. And I'm joined today by Fida Gelassi. Hi, Fida.
Hi, Michael. So Fida Gelassi, I'm a senior system integrator and team lead at automation at Emerson Automation Solutions.
All right. Okay. Thanks, Fida. So now let's get into the presentation. So here's the agenda for today. The things we're going to talk about really include who is Emerson. If you're not familiar with Emerson, give you an idea of who we are overall. What is optics analytics? So an introduction to our platform. And then Fida will be taking us through a case study of combining optics analytics and Sigmafine, and that is all around a furnace. So although it is a furnace case study, this is something that's very extensible as well. And then we'll just open up for questions and have a wrap up at the very end. So who is Emerson? So this is our 2020 at a glance. So Emerson is a global company that has two main platforms, automation solutions and commercial residential solutions. And we are coming to you from the Emerson Automation Solutions side. We were founded in 1890, have over 80,000 employees, and almost 17 billion in sales in 2020. And as part of that, Emerson Automation Solutions has about $11.2 billion in sales. So we have a lot of different products that you're probably used to and maybe use every day. So things like the Delta V control system, Rose mount sensors, Fisher valves, and so on and so forth. So that's where we're coming from today. And we're both involved in the digital transformation at Emerson as well. And one thing that Emerson does have is a partnership with Sigmafine. So this was announced a few years ago that in order to really ensure the highest accuracy and confidence in your measurement systems, that Emerson partnered with Pimsoft and Sigmafine to really provide that enterprise-wide platform to help customers validate accuracy, reliability, and usability of plant measurements. And as part of this, it's super important to have accurate mass balance and yield accounting data. And part of those reasons are to mitigate financial risk, reduce losses, and really just have better overall operations. So as a key part of digital transformation, this combination really helps lay the foundation for assessing, predicting, modeling, optimizing operations. So originally this partnership was mostly around measurement validation, but as you can see in this presentation, we really extended that to different use cases. So this is our PlantWeb Optics platform. So as part of Emerson Automation Solutions, we have software known as PlantWeb Optics, and the real goal there is to help operations reach top quartile in areas such as reliability, production, manufacturing agility, sustainability, and health and safety. And the way that we do that is taking data from all around a plant, from machinery health to instrument and valve health, to data that you might have in a historian. And our software helps turn that into measurable results. So part of that value proposition is really connecting, collecting, contextualizing data in our data lake, visualizing and analyzing that data, and really driving collaboration and workflow. So as part of this, we have a variety of different pieces of software, including data lake, portal, our connectors. So our connectors connect to Emerson sources and some open source standards. And then PlantWeb Optics Analytics here, which really provides that advanced analytics capability, including machine learning and root cause analysis. And as part of that software, PlantWeb Optics Analytics, we did win an award here, the 2021 IoT Breakthrough Award, as the Analytics Platform of the Year. So here we were recognized for really helping our customers improve key performance areas like reliability, safety, production optimization, and energy management. So really proud of getting that award out of all of the nominations worldwide. And these are the main components of PlantWeb Optics Analytics. There are two main pieces of software, Modeling Studio and Project Studio. And Modeling Studio is really about taking raw data and turning that into predictive models. So that can be cleaning, exploring, running advanced kind of analytics like clustering, classification, and finding more about your processes and your data that way. Then we have a few key modules within our Project Studio. One is our rules and complex events. That's really about detection of events in your software, and that's about setting logic in place to recognize things like, for example, column flooding. And then root cause analysis works in tandem with that. So that's really about putting together fault trees and automating root cause analysis to find the root cause of these events. So an event happens like column flooding, being able to figure out what event precipitated that is causing that flooding. Finally, you want to see some workflow. And workflow is all about really setting alerts and things like that. And it can be used quite broadly to automate parallel or sequential sets of operations. So an example here is if you have an event like column flooding, you find out the root cause of that event and you send out an alert or notification to operations about that. And then we all have, we see here the main components of Sigmafine. So things like modeling and reconciliation, tracking, identifying errors, and making sure that your KPIs are accurate. So with those two things together, what we wanted to do was combine those and see how they were greater as a whole rather than the sum of their parts. And these are what each of these bring to the table. So in optics analytics, we have things like KPIs for your assets and processes, root cause analysis and workflow. And Sigmafine really brings that data validation and some capabilities like mass and energy balance in. And combined, optics analytics and Sigmafine really provide an analytical platform that can drive action based on reliable data. As we know, data is necessary for analytics, and more so than that, reliable, good data is a part of that as well. So as we were working with Sigmafine, we came up with the idea to run a test of combining our two softwares, and this is a furnace case study around that. And Fida will kind of walk you through what we did in this case study, and hopefully you can get some ideas about how you could do something similar in your processes.
Thanks, Michael. In this part, I will go through a use case example around the furnace. In analytics, we use template and models to supervise and manage the performance of critical assets. In this use case, we worked on a fired heater. We made a model for it, which embeds years of expertise and process knowledge to preemptively alert operators about possible problems and prevent costly shutdowns. This model embedded performance calculations too, to identify performance target and recurrent problems and the root cause analysis to help find and mitigate the impact of deviations. As part of the model, we identified root causes for abnormal asset behavior. Also, we identified their impact on the equipment, environment, and business. The detection of the abnormal behavior is mainly based on the raw data. There is some challenges with the raw data that could be divided into two categories. The first one is with the measurement error. The measured data may be lost, contaminated by gross error, or distributed by random signals during the measurement process. So the final data displayed to the end user might deviate from the original data, which might affect the decision making. The second challenge is the lack of data. Sometimes we don't have enough instruments to generate the right KPI in the model, which might be caused by missing instruments on the field and that need to be compensated by estimation or process modeling. These two challenges may lead to make wrong decisions. The solution is to generate trustable data for the analysis through data reconciliation. This will bring considerable benefits like data correction, easier detection of measurement problem, and make effective decisions. We partnered with Sigmafine because it increases confidence of what we measure and estimates what we don't measure, which helps us to make better business decisions. This is what we get when we integrate Sigmafine with our model. Now, the raw data is flowing through Sigmafine and then fed into Optics Analytics model, which will deliver enhanced results, enabling the user to identify deviation from optimal mass balance, identify the cause of underperformance, and work toward corrective actions. So to start building the combined solution, we follow these steps. The first one is to create the model in Sigmafine. We start by building the furnace model, reconcile the data, and then estimate and measure it parameters. So Sigmafine uses the data reconciliation method, which uses a least squares formulation to quantify the error in the model measurements. Here we developed the furnace model in Sigmafine, which is empowered by thermodynamics extension to do the hourly integrated mass and energy balance of the furnace. Basically, we are reading the raw data from the Pi data archive. The data were structured in operational asset with Pi asset framework. After that, these assets are related together in a model and reconciled with Sigmafine server. So this is the Sigmafine furnace model. Each asset is represented by a standard Sigmafine template, which is represented in a modular display. Now we will do the data mapping and integration between Sigmafine and Optics Analytics. Once we have generated the reconciled data, we identified the data we need from Sigmafine in the analytics model. And we mapped these data to the KPIs that we need to generate in analytics. Then, in order to integrate the two components, Sigmafine generated the reconciled data and published it to the Pi server. Then analytics connects to the Pi server and read the reconciled data from there to generate KPIs. The combined model is fed by real-time infrastructure with process data and where required with laboratory data. It provides seamless integration with the customer infrastructure, able to interfacing with disparate data sources and data repositories, such as historian, ERPs, and business intelligence tools. So Sigmafine can either publish the reconciled data to SQL Server or PyData Archive server. The connection from Analytics to the SQL Server is very easy and simple. For the connection to the Pi server, we need to install and configure PyBridge to connect to Pi server. Once connected, the Pi variables will be transferred to Analytics as global variables. Now we will create the model in Analytics. We started by adding a class. This class will embed calculations to calculate the asset performance. This template determines KPIs and metrics. Then it compares the calculation to a baseline or design values to determine deviations in order to identify potential instrument problem, pinpoint degradation source, and evaluate the effectiveness of cost improvement actions. The asset includes a set of properties, where each property is assigned to a tag from Sigmafine for the reconciled data or from Pi for the raw data. Now we will go to the KPIs development. We use the custom K rules to compute KPIs like efficiency and heat duty. As you can see, this model uses a graphical environment based on drag, drop, and connect. After generating KPIs, we compared the calculation to a baseline or design to determine deviations and generate events accordingly. So the event here is generated when a low terminal efficiency is detected. Then we build a complex event graphical rule to determine root cause of the deviation. We used KRCA model in Analytics, which allow creating fault propagation models that are defined by the cause and effect relationship. The possible causes of an abnormal condition are located upstream, and the effects are located downstream. For example, we detected a low thermal efficiency. The cause of this symptom is the instrument bad measurement. And behind this problem box, there is a logic that we define to trigger this problem when it occurs, like we saw previously. So this model provides also actionable knowledge for immediate resolution of performance gaps. These actions was associated with problem box and displayed in dashboards. For example, a message will be displayed to check the instrument FIT 101. Moreover, using Sigmafine data, we can determine which instrument is causing the issue and which measurement are contributing most to the imbalance. In this way, the root cause analysis based on reconciled data can serve several purposes. First, it acts as an early warning system for instrument malfunctioning or drifting out of calibration. And second, it acts as an online validation process where the performance of individual instruments can be compared for consistency against the rest of the measurement in the system. We can have more details about the low furnace performance by going into this icon. The low furnace efficiency symptom is associated with the bad measurement provided by instrument FIT 101. So this is the summary overview with drill down capabilities. We were able to estimate the unmeasured data like flue gas to stack and the vaporized crude. And then we were able to calculate the KPIs based on raw data and reconciled data. Then with the root cause analysis based on reconciled value, we identified which instrument has potential problem and generated actions for immediate resolution of performance gaps. This graph is a comparison between thermal efficiency calculations based on raw and reconciled data. As you can see, the efficiency is lower than expected. This bias between the performance indicators with reconciled and raw data is caused by bad measurements. The raw data set you can see on the left is used to study the correlation between the measured oxygen in the flue gases and the furnace efficiency. As you can see, the raw datasets show a very poor correlation because of the inaccuracy of the measured data. So we used Sigmafine to perform data conditioning step based on mass and energy conservation principle, resulting in reducing the inaccuracy of the oxygen measured and making the resultant dataset suitable for use by optics analytics model. So the expected correlation appears. The use of the reconciled data, which are free of gross error and which satisfy all plant material and energy balance, enhance dramatically the accuracy of process model used for optimization, since larger gross error can nullify gains achievable through process optimization. So this is the impact of lowering target oxygen in the flue gas by 1% through analysis of reconciled data vs unreconciled data, which would result in improved efficiency of the furnace and an energy saving worth between 100 and 200 K per year, depending on the natural gas cost. Lowering the target oxygen in the flue gas by 1% will also lower nitrogen oxide emissions by 10 to 15%, allowing the refinery to more easily reach emissions target or allowance. Let's go now to the demo, and let's start with the furnace model in Sigmafine. The best way to visualize this model is to use the modeler or the Sigmafine modeler add-in to process book. As you can see, each asset is associated with an element template, and assets are related together in the model and reconciled. The reconciled data is then archived in the Pi server. This is the Pi system management tool that we can use to visualize the current value in the Pi data archive of the reconciled data from Sigmafine. This data will feed then our analytics model. This is the optics analytics project on mod runtime. We can check the connection status with the data sources, in that case with the Pi data archive through the Pi bridge. From the object watcher, we can check the variable status and values in the system. This asset is a user-defined template, which has properties, and each property is associated with a variable that we are reading from the Pi server. After defining the model properties, we calculate the KPIs like the efficiency and the heat duty. We used for that the K rules, which has a rich toolbox including arithmetic, statistic, temporal reasoning, and logic blocks that can be combined all in one rule. For example, this block is used to read the fuel gas flow from the furnace model. And this one is used to do an arithmetic operation. After calculating the KPI like the efficiency, we compare its value to baseline or design value to determine deviation and generate events accordingly. So let's take this example. Whenever there is a low thermal efficiency, an event will be generated. To summarize now, the K-rules model was used to calculate KPIs like the efficiency and trigger events if any deviation are detected. In the same way, we have developed other logic to detect a bad measurement in the process based on the reconciled data, which might affect the thermal efficiency values. So whenever there is an issue in the measurement, an event will be triggered and communicated to the KRCA trees in which root causes are identified. So each one of these problem blocks is associated with an event. We can show here the related events to the bad measurement, for example. To have more details about the problem, we can go to this icon and click on Show Tree View. So as you can see, the low thermal efficiency, the low furnace thermal efficiency is caused by bad measurement in the instrument FIT 101. Actions associated with the problem can be shown in the message browser as well. That was the demo for the combined solution. Back to you, Michael.
All right, thank you so much, Vida. So as you see, there's some definite value and also some ease of use in combining optics, analytics, and Sigmafine. But you show just one use case, but these are really the main use cases that you get from combining these two technologies of analytics and something like Sigmafine. So really just knowing that you have trusted data. Here you have the plant data. We take in information in our server, but that layer in between really can do things like data conditioning. It opens up a world of new use cases like custody transfer or reporting. And really looking to take what you've learned from analytics and drive action. So being able to have a visualization and a dashboard that quickly shows what you can see from a reconciled perspective versus a non-reconciled perspective, having root cause analysis, actionable advice that can really take your learnings and make sure that operations can do something about it. And here, really what we're super interested in is how to improve sustainability, leveraging something like Sigmafine to really optimize processes, reduce energy emissions, and eliminate losses as we all look to become more sustainable. For more information about Plant Web Optics Analytics, you can just visit emerson.com/plantwebopticsanalytics or reach out to your local Emerson representative or impact partner. And there on the website, you can connect the sales if you have any more questions. And speaking of questions, we'll now be opening up for any questions.
Very good. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Vida. Thank you for joining us today in person and take questions from our audience. This presentation is a very good example of how you can maximize the value of information by using advanced analytics, as is the case with Plant Web Optics, and data reconciliation, data validation methods as provided by Sigmafine. So you get the most of the information you have in any given process situation. So let's start with the first question. Is there another approach that analytics is using to detect KPIs deviation other than data reconciliation?
Okay, I will take this one. So as Michael mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, optics analytics have two tools, one for the online data processing and the other one is for the offline data processing, which can be used as a standalone or as a standalone tools or a complementary tools. So in this use case, we just used the online data processing tool in combination with Sigmafine to do the KPIs calculation, the root cause analysis, to determine abnormal condition and to do the asset management. We can use the predictive model or the offline model and inject it online to detect any performance gap. And this model is built by analyzing historical data through predefined statistical and mathematical algorithm for pattern regression, correlation identification, and predictive model. So the offline modelization in analytics, it's a different approach than using the data reconciliation to identify like the KPIs deviation.
Thank you, Vida. Next question. Does Sigmafine and analytics include built-in equipment models that could be customized and deployed faster?
Absolutely. So I'll tackle that. So optics analytics, we have built into the software is a library of what we call templates that are made for common assets and equipment. So things like pumps and compressors, boilers, and so on and so forth. And what those really include is an asset model for that asset, really saying what tags relate to what attribute. And then we have pre-populated rules for those assets. So we kind of mentioned rules in the presentation. So those rules really set you up for KPIs and to recognize performance deviations. So combining Sigmafine and Optics Analytics templates, it's really a quick way to almost map out what you have for a piece of equipment and equate that to what the sensor reading from Sigmafine would be. So it really helps you deploy faster.
Thank you very much. Next question. How much of the model knowledge from Plant Web Optics can be used to develop a Sigmafine model and vice versa?
Yep. So I think that kind of hits on what we were talking about with templates. So as far as that goes, we sort of have some embedded expertise, but so does Sigmafine as well. So really, we can kind of read each other's models and be able to transfer that quite quickly there.
Okay, thank you. Any other question from the audience?
That's the last question.
Last question. Okay, thank you, Ryan. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Fida.
Yep.
Thank you also for joining us in this journey, of demonstrating the value of a combined Plant Web Optics Analytics and Sigmafine. It was not something that was done in a couple of weeks. We spent months in doing that. I think we all know, but I think at the beginning we had a good intuition that the combined effect of these two technologies would give us a significant advantage, and we're very pleased that this can be demonstrated, and we look forward to Sigmafine customers and Plant Web Optics customers to kind of consider this strategy going forward. So thank you very much for putting this presentation today.
All right, great. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, Fida. You're welcome. Okay, everyone. Next presentation, this time is real, is the product development roadmap. During this presentation, you will hear about the classic Sigmafine 4.7, 4.6, so the one that you've known for years, at least for a decade. And you will also discover the SigmafineHub roadmap, which is, I think, the first time that we are presenting the full roadmap in details to you, although SigmafineHub itself was released not too long ago, back in September. And so you will hear a lot of new things, some of which have been introduced during the presentation about the studio made by Elena and Marco a few minutes ago. Before we start the presentation, I have to make a bit of a announcement. One of the speakers on the original presentation was David Saul. David had a chance to prepare the presentation, but unfortunately, due to illness, he passed away yesterday. So the person who recorded his content is someone from our Milan office. So you won't recognize David's voice, but it is his content.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Engineering Roadmap presentation. This is a great opportunity to share with you the current status and the future of the SF Hub initiative. This is how we intend to support the transition from data to actionable insights that can assert strategic and economic significance to streaming data and events. Today, we want to share with you the investments we have made in the products and the journey that we are pursuing to provide a new great experience with Sigmafine. The focal point of this presentation is the SigmafineHub. We'll go through the current release and we'll see how it is evolving into a platform supporting the digital transition. Although the primary goals are to augment the value and scope data, as well as to increase productivity and usability, we also keep in strong consideration all the investments made. That's why SigmafineHub helps in transforming data into digital assets, remaining fully compatible with your existing systems, and preserves everything that has been developed using the current technology. We have built things to help make your job easier because we know your job is time-consuming and centered around critical operations on the assets in the plant. SigmafineHub is the initiative launched by Pimsoft years ago with the aim of designing and planning the development of Sigmafine by addressing the technological evolution and digital transformation, all while maintaining total compatibility with current technology. During Q3 of this year, the first version of SigmafineHub was released, and the beta testing program was completed. The first release consists of SigmafineHub Application Server, the component that enables access to the current Sigmafine via web browser-based applications. The two main web apps, Visualizer and Admin, together with the Login web app. In parallel, the automatic display conversion service from process book format to SigmafineHub format has been activated. But development continued, and by the end of 2021, we expect to release Studio, one of the most significant initiatives of the SigmafineHub program, together with the release of a new version of Visualizer that includes support for the new features enabled by Studio. Studio will be released with two web apps, Analytic and Dashboard Report. With Studio, SigmafineHub is now ready to support the digital transformation by delivering extended Sigmafine case, the foundation of the digital assets factory, and unleashing fully new operating modes. Building the digital assets factory required to extend the definition of the current Sigmafine case. Here you see the new SigmafineHub extended case. SigmafineHub extended case maintains the current case dataset formed by the elements and their data by enriching it both at the case and element level with insights. The extended case is also extended with a full audit that tracks all actions, such as changes, so now you know exactly how data contained in the case was created, a relevant feature from compliance scopes. With SigmafineHub, the case is also monitored even when the activities are completed, and any operations that affect the consistency of the data are automatically detected and made available. In today's world, users transform data into insights. They have to go through the entire process for understanding the context. This is a time-consuming activity and requires expertise and knowledge. With SigmafineHub, it is now possible to convert data into valuable insights that are made available to users who can then focus on corrective actions, saving time and standardizing processes. As we see in the example, the imbalance, the data, is now integrated by the cause, the lack of an input transfer. But the digital asset will also allow the creation of a new class of insights, the actionable insights. Similarly to what has been seen above, users are today responsible for taking corrective actions, and again, this is time-consuming and requires knowledge and expertise. But it is now possible to convert data into actionable insights. That's not only information, but ready to execute actions, leaving the user the validation step. As we see in the example, ready to execute actions are proposed together with insights, the reason, and the user has to validate and let the system take care of the execution. SigmafineHub integrates Sigmafine, enabling new features and new applications, and as we see in the slide, it is compatible with the latest versions of Sigmafine. Therefore, SigmafineHub can be adopted by anyone running a version 4.6.5 or higher, simply by installing the new SFHub product. SFHub is not invasive. Everything development on the current system is preserved and continues to work. SFHub brings further major improvements that elevate data usability by transforming current application islands into an asset-centric environment that enables a powerful new way of working with Sigmafine. Let's take a look at this first video in which we want to show you how different data visualizations can now work together in a coordinated and integrated way thanks to the interoperability offered by SFHub. We want to demonstrate the interoperability of SigmafineHub applications, which is their ability to use the same features available from the visualizer display, even using a different data rendering mechanism, which in our case is a report. Here you can see a display which also has a report that I have activated from the command bar of the visualizer. The report shows the meters test 1 performance indicator, providing a graphical and tabular view of our information, allowing us to interact with the display. The report gives us standard filtering options on the meter template, as well as the possibility to organize our data into multiple pages. Using only the report, we have all the full options, such as navigating on the display elements, viewing information contained in their attributes, and even more, we can adjust attribute values through the attribute panel. The Sigmafine case runner is also available to run the reconciliation. As you can see, as a result of changes on the Sigmafine case, the report data is not valid. The notification message is reminding me that I must refresh the data. In future releases, a setting will be made available to allow automatic data updating. To wrap things up, we can say that with SigmafineHub, we have the advantage of being able to work using our preferred approach without losing the functions that are available on the system, as well as exploiting the interoperability between the applications themselves. But how easy is it to use the new applications? Let's see in this second video. The scope of this video is to demonstrate how easy it is to modify a report or a dashboard, taking advantage of the integration between the report and the report editor to make the desired changes and immediately evaluate the results. By opening a report from the visualizer, we can activate the report editor to make graphical changes. The report editor opens and then we can modify the report by adding a new content that is a data grid and then assign a data source from which to pull the data. Configure an action on the meter column that allows to locate the element on the display and then add a relation between the chart and the data grid in order to enable the lookup. The last change is to add an image of the company and then save the report. Once the report changes are saved, we can open it again from the visualizer and see the results of the changes made. We can look up between the two visuals as working, and the meter localization on display is working as expected. We have just seen how the new web apps provide an incredible new experience, allowing users to work with Sigmafine by freely choosing the preferred mode, display on, dashboard, report only, or integrated display and dashboard report. But not only that, we also have seen two very important aspects. Dashboards and reports are for everyone, do not require special skills, and are natively integrated into the SFHub platform. But perhaps most important of all, we've seen the particular feature that sets SFHub dashboard report apart from other reporting tools. SFHub dashboard and reports are live and interact automatically with data changes, becoming a new mode to work with the system. In summary, SFHub dashboards and reports do not replace the other reporting tools, but complement them by offering users a different way of interacting with Sigmafine. Lastly, we would like to show you how easy it is to extract, transform, and view your Sigmafine data, creating from scratch an analytic and a dashboard. We would now like to demonstrate how easy and quick it is to create an SFHub analytic and report to show the data pull out by the analytic. In this example, we will collect and totalize the inventory mass, grouped by material, to be shown in the report. As a first step, we have to create the analytic, and using the SF code block editor, we will create the logic to carry out the required data collection. The first one is the main, and then a couple of set code blocks, where the first is a dictionary where we store the material quantities, and the second one is configured to load our dictionary with the reconciled mass. We save the analytic, assigning a name that is total mass. We now create a report to show the data collected by our analytic. A data grid is created from the Visuals menu, and a data source is assigned selecting the analytic that we have just created. A chart is also created to show a graphical representation of the material stocks, using the same data source assigned to the data grid. We assign the donut graphical aspect to the chart, and then we configure the necessary parameters to populate the chart. For added readability, we enable the tooltip and then the legend we would like to make visible on the right side of the chart. Finally, we create a relation between the data grid and the chart using the material in order to set up an animation when the users click on a material code. As a final step, we have to save the report by assigning a name. In order to make our report available in the Visualizer application, we need to configure the new report in our display settings. As you can see, the report is now available in the Visualizer command bar, and we can open it to see our material stock. So far it looks good, but what's next? Let's look 1 year ahead and see the next evolution of the SFHub platform. End of next year, we expect to extend Visualizer web app with authoring capabilities and to release one new major feature, Studio Workflow. The introduction of authoring will allow to create and modify displays in a synchronized way with the database, allowing users to discontinue ProcessBook, the current authoring tool. Notice or remember discounting ProcessBook is not a requirement but an option. The introduction of authoring will also require the deployment of a first version of a new service, SFHub Server. The service will master and coordinate access to authoring resources and to the database. But there is more. By the end of 2022, early 2023, the release of a new Studio component, the Workflow, is also planned. Workflow introduces a new way to use and work with Sigmafine, moving from an application-centric to a process-centric approach, transforming Sigmafine from a set of independent applications to a documented, coordinated, and audited bus of applications and services. The process-oriented approach not only will allow to focus on the sequence of steps, actions that are necessary, but also, and above all, to orchestrate, execute, and control the set of activities that are part of the whole elaboration process. Completed the first step of development and the release of the new Sigmafine features and functionalities. On the one hand, we foresee a continuous improvement activity of the release components, and on the other hand, an infrastructural expansion is foreseen. However, we must consider that we live in technological contexts characterized by strong and fast evolutions and variations, for which today the roadmap addresses the two main development areas: support for distributed architectures and integration. Review in summary the set of infrastructural components and applications that are part of the roadmap, highlighting the components available starting from 2021. SFHub is ready to help and simplify your work, in a nutshell, to provide you with a new Sigmafine experience. Let's now move on to the second part of the presentation, dedicated to the Sigmafine server component. Let me introduce Massimo Pra, who will continue the presentation.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Massimo Pra, and I am the Sigmafine technical leader at Pimsoft. Today, I will illustrate our Sigmafine roadmap, and we will start from Sigmafine 4.7. We will take a look to the medium-term Sigmafine server roadmap. It is important to underline that Sigmafine Server is still the frame on which SigmafineHub is founded. Therefore, all Sigmafine plugins play an important role in feeding SigmafineHub with data calculated from data references as well as by the analysis rules. In Q1 of 2021 has been released the latest version of Sigmafine that basically is a technological alignment with other software and Microsoft as well. But 2021 represents also the end of line of Sigmafine 4.6 as we know today. Sigmafine Server will become part of the SigmafineHub, so all the plugins will continue to be supported and enhanced to fit the requirement as well as the needed technical alignment. On Q3 of 2021, some patches have been released for Sigmafine 4.7, R2 and Service Pack 2. That server patches are as much as possible applied to the most recent releases in order to guarantee an acceptable continuity. Sigmafine 4.7 R2 subscription edition includes the same features and functionalities of Sigmafine 4.7 R2, except that the subscription edition is regulated by different kind of license agreement. Here are some details about the patch that have been released for Sigmafine 4.7 Service Pack 2. Basically, we release two patches for the Sigmafine server that basically fix some bugs on the analysis rule and also in the Sigmafine, Sigmafine utilities data reference. There is also a patch for the Sigmafine Excel add-in just to improve the registration of some component. And at the end, we have a fix in the Sigmafine integration framework. Regarding the patch released for Sigmafine 4.7 R2, we have also in that case a patch for Sigmafine server. Also in that case regarding the data reference and a fix for the Sigmafine data loader. Also, we have a patch for Sigmafine Excel add-in. Also, basically, is the same patch that we applied for the Service Pack 2. Again, we have a patch for patch 2 for Sigmafine Integration Framework, as well as a patch 1 for the Sigmafine SQL Access Server. Okay, in this slide, we can see an overview of the Sigmafine versions currently supported. As you can see, they span from 4.6 R2 until 4.7 R2. Each one is basically aligned to a well-defined version of the underlying Microsoft and Microsoft platform. So we start from Windows Server 2012 and PIF Server 2015 until the latest version that is aligned with the Windows Server 2019 and PIF Server 2018 service pack. But please note that the Sigmafine 4.7 R2 has been built and certified to work with PyServer 2018 Service Pack 3. Then you have to pay attention at the PyCon connectors that are no longer supported by this version of the bilateral Pi. Anyway, Sigmafine 4.7 R2 works also with the early version of PyServer, and in case of need, you can continue to support the COM connectors. Let us see in detail now how in future the different Sigmafine server versions will be supported by Pimsoft. Starting from the first row of the table, we can see that Sigmafine 4.6 R2 until R4 version, they will enter in maintenance starting from the next year for different reasons. First of all, for security reasons, because they are founded on all versions of Windows Server and of the .NET framework. And second, because they are now compatible with SigmafineHub. Regarding Sigmafine Server 4.6 R5, it is compatible with SigmafineHub by installing a dedicated patch. But we believe that starting from 2023, also this version will be obsolete. Sigmafine Server 4.7 and 4.7 R2 will continue their life since these are the reference version for SigmafineHub, and they are significantly aligned with the latest security practice. This table summarize instead how Sigmafine client version will be supported. Here the situation is completely different since influenced by the retirement of process book as well as by the adoption of SigmafineHub. Starting from the Sigmafine model for process book, it is still supported in 2021, but it will enter in maintenance starting from 2022. And in 2024, the component will be retired since process book is also retired by others. The same apply also from Sigmafine Advanced Diagnostic and Info process book for the same reasons, basically. Regarding Sigmafine Data Loader and the Data Importer, they are supported until the end of 2022. After that, they will enter in maintenance. Consider that starting from 2023, the loading data feature will be integrated in SigmafineHub.
Thank you, Massimo. for this presentation. And thank you, David, for putting all this effort in this presentation, even if you're not here today with us. As you can see, we have done a lot of work in the last, since we last spoke at the summit last year, and we still have a fairly full roadmap ahead of us in terms of continuing to support the classic Sigmafine server based on AF, and introducing sort of a next generation components around the SigmafineHub, which will take us into the future of a more analytics driven platform in terms of Sigmafine. So Massimo, thank you for joining us from Milan. Yeah, good afternoon to you. How about some questions, Ryan? Did we get any questions from the audience? First question, what if you're using PyVision and not ProcessBook?
Okay, we invest a lot of time to work with Osisoft about the adoption of PyVision. But unfortunately, this initiative is currently in hold since the extendability module was not improved or developed in order to integrate third-party application in PyVision. This is the very simple reason.
Yes, thank you very much. Do you think this extensibility model will be capable of supporting Sigmafine displays eventually, or is this still undefined?
So basically, when we started to implement SigmafineHub Visualizer, we decided to adopt the same technology that is currently used in PyVision. Mm-hmm. So the point is that from the technical point of view, we are compatible.
Okay, now it's a question of roadmap.
Yeah, in future, we'll be ready to integrate also with PyVision.
Okay, very good. Next question. What new or improved security measures have been implemented into SigmafineHub?
Okay, well, SigmafineHub is a step forward in terms of application safety. The communication with the browser that is now become the official client application is protected by the HTTPS protocol. And the login, as well as the browser session management, are secure and implement a safe mechanism to avoid intrusions. Each extended message is protected by own anti-intrusion mechanism. Anyway, all the SigmafineHub software has been successfully tested using OWASP intrusion test, and also is protected by SQL injection as well. This is the situation.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. Can you tell us more about your plan to move SigmafineHub to the cloud?
Okay, well, the first release of SigmafineHub is already the first step to move in the cloud. The reasons are basically two reasons. The client of SigmafineHub are browser-based, so we don't need to install any additional software layers. And the SigmafineHub backend, the application server architecture, is already cloud compatible. So we can say that the adoption of SigmafineHub combined
with moving the Sigmafine server environment can be supported, basically. The only limitation in this version is that in this initial version, sorry, is that SigmafineHub will not support public cloud scenarios. Anyway, our technical support and Pimsoft development team will be able to assist in recommending the best SigmafineHub deployment architecture. But as illustrated in the roadmap, with the introduction of the SigmafineHub server and SigmafineHub gateway, we will be able to decouple SigmafineHub application framework from the on-premises feeding system, and therefore have the total autonomy from where the system to be integrated with Sigmafine are.
Okay, very good. I believe, Massimo, that we've already actually gone through this exercise with some of our customers, and as you mentioned, our technical support and product development team have actually assisted customer in doing this partial or migration to the cloud. So thank you very much. Yeah. Anyone interested by this topic, please feel free to reach out to our technical support. Okay. We are on schedule, running a little bit late. So, the idea of having a 5-minute break there was just to have this buffer for adjustment. So therefore, we'll just move right into the third section of the summit because we're just on time. And this next presentation is featuring the work of a partner, Contac, who's a longtime partner of Pimsoft, deploying Sigmafine in mining and metallurgy. I think one of the differentiating factor of Sigmafine in the marketplace is that it is the only solution of its kind, which basically can adapt to just about any process industries. We have installed base in oil and gas, of course, as you've seen through our customer presentations, but we have installed base in life sciences. We have installed base in LNG, fertilizers, and a number of industrial gases, and a number of other verticals. Today, the focus of this particular presentation by Contac is using Sigmafine in mines and metals, and especially for metallurgical accounting. Contac has developed I would say, an extension to Sigmafine called, in Spanish, it's called Escritorio de Balance. Hopefully I get this pronunciation right, which means a balanced desktop. So it's basically creating a customized desktop which can help metallurgical accountant do their job. So I would like to introduce Felipe Kripper, who is a project manager at Contac. Felipe will be walking us through this particular solution that his company has developed. And also I'm happy to announce that, Contac will be one of the first partners we have, which will be an early adopter of Sigmafine Studio. A lot of the functionality that you see in their version of the application today are functionalities that the SigmafineHub Studio would eventually support as well. So without any further delay, Felipe, can we start your presentation?
Hi, I am Felipe Kripper from Contac Ingenrios, and in this presentation we are going to show our experience in the implementation of balance system based on Sigmafine. The agenda for this presentation: first, see an introduction of Contac Ingenrios. Then we will talk about a formal metallurgical accounting system and its requirements, to continue with the application development to meet this requirement. And we will finish with the description of a typical project and telling you about the experience with one of our main customer, Codelco. Contac Ingenrios is dedicated to development of technology, methodologies, and specialized service for operation and asset management. We want to become a strategic partner during the entire life cycle of the system, from the initial conception to the implementation, support and evolutionary development. Our vision is to be considered by our customer as a preferred strategic partner in the adoption of automatization, data analytics, and industrial IT technology. We are a Chilean company with more than 14 years in the market. We have been a strategic partner of Pimsoft for more than 10 years, and we have a 25-year relationship with Osisoft, and we are mainly dedicated to the integration and construction of industrial IT systems. These are some of our clients. You can see the major mining company with presence in Chile, and with most of them we have operational continuity support service. The main object of a formal metallurgical accounting system is to determine with the greatest possible certainty the metal content of the different components relevant to the business along the production process, providing the owner of this share of the operation with reliability and traceability information to support the calculation of efficiency index, consumption, productivity, declaration of material losses, inventory level, etc., from which is possible to estimate the degree of health of each of the process. We are going to talk about the information system for metallurgical accounting, but as you can see in the figure, this must be supported by procedures that guarantee the quality and consistency of the data for the balance. As you can see in this picture, the implementation of a metallurgical accounting system is not trivial. It involves the challenge of converting the different process data to deliver consistent information to the different areas of the plant. This is why data reconciliation is fundamental and becomes the basis of operational accounting. Just to reinforce the above, reconciliation will allow us to have a reliable and consistent set of data representing the input and output of the process. This will enable operational performance monitoring, operational loss prevention, a single version of the official company truth, and consistent information for process analysis. And in combination with production schedules, process limited and constrained, accounting for key inputs, key asset availability indicator will become the official information. Then the issue is much more complex than just generation of a data reconciliation model, since we must ensure a traceable system that allows to pass the constant audits and is based on procedures known to all. This is the solution architecture. As you can see, the core is Sigmafine, which allows us to generate the balance model, the data reconciliation, and the editing and loading of the tolerance. On the other hand, by analysis framework allow us to contextualize the model with metadata and the enable of the necessary calculation. On top, we have two solutions developed by Contac. SIG allows us to manage the inbound and outbound reportability of the balance, and on the other hand, the escritorio de balance thus allows us to centralize the activity of the balance operator, and we will review in the detail during the presentation. Data management and assurance are the soul of the metallurgical accounting solution. The data flow that we presented allows us to ensure that the data arrives validated from each area to facilitate the task of the balance operator. And in the central part of the activity of the operator when interacting with Sigmafine is centralized in the escritorio de balance, allowing us, we will review below, the validation of the data with the statistical indicator as well as the result generated by the balance. El escritorio de balance allows us, as I have mentioned, to be a single interface for the user, improve the user experience, and combine the best practice rescue from the experience of years of implementation this type of solution. This way, the operator uses a single interface that centralizes the flow of tasks associated with the execution of the metallurgical balance. In addition, it allows the visualization of indicators and alarms, thus facilitating the balance operator task of reviewing input data and results. Well, now let's review some of the main functionalities. Regarding the input data review, the mature deviation tool allows to compare the value of the current period with respect to the historical ones, presenting a colored alarm when it's deviated from the average between 1 and 2 sigma yellow, 2 and 3 sigmas orange, and greater than 3 sigmas red. In this way, the operator can visually identify flows of or inventory that show out-of-range values. Another outstanding feature is the review of imbalance by node, which also allows alarming when the imbalance is out of the allowed range. I forgot to tell you, but all these limits are configurable. For this case, we are seeing imbalance greater than 9 are marked with red, with orange between 6 and 9%, and with yellow between 3 and 6%. Once the data has been reviewed, the tolerance must be lowered. Here, el escritorio de balance allows us to read the tolerance, for example, loaded in the previous case. Review and modify them if it's necessary, and then write this validated set to the respective case to be executed. It is not the focus of this presentation, but I would like to point out that there is the option of automatical tolerance calculation or analysis using the variogram technique. As I mentioned before, the desk del escritorio de balance centralizes the balance tasks. Here, the input data collection, the balance execution, and the publication of results are performed. In order to be prepared for future audits, every time a balance case is run, it is necessary to enter a comment that facilitates the traceability of the execution. Once the balance has been performed, the results are reviewed. Here, there are several functionalities. For example, the review of over-adjustment, which, as in the previous case, alarm with a color code the flow that we are adjusted about the assigned tolerance. Here you can see a flow that is alarmed in yellow because it had an adjustment about 1.8 times greater than its tolerance. We also have a section for a graphical review of the result. For example, you can plot a measured value versus reconciled value, thus allowing the quick identification of bias in balance flow. To conclude this quick review of the tool, we will highlight the traceability option that allows us to visualize the different balance runs performed. Clearly identify the execution user as well as the data of the run. The values that change from one run to another are highlighted in yellow. At the beginning, I showed you our general customer. Here is a list of the mining company we have worked with the implementation of balance during the last year. In all of them, this balance solution is implemented with a minor adjustment to meet the particular requirement of each client. He's very quick to tell you about a typical metallurgical accounting system implementation project. Usually, the duration is 6 to 8 months. The first 2 months are dedicated to the design and collection of information for the balance. Then come 4 months of the implementation of the solution to finish with a couple of months of support for the implementation of the system.
As I mentioned at the beginning, our objective is to generate long-term relationships with our clients. Here I present our experience with Codelco, which started with the use of Sigmafine back in 2003 and is currently a standard, and it's a metallurgical accounting platform.
And as a summary and to the end the presentation, I would like to share with you some of the benefits that have been obtained over time from the use of the Sigmafine platform as the basis of their balance. The 8th division of Codelco used exactly the same solution, which allowed them to share experience and best practice, generating dynamic of continuous improvement. Their efforts are in line with the greatest possible automation in their balance process so that their time is dedicated to the analysis of the result and identification of possible problems in the base instrumentation.
This concludes my presentation. I remain available to answer your questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Felipe, for this presentation. And welcome, Carlos Perez. Carlos is working closely. Carlos is with Pimsoft, working closely with Felipe, and will assist us in answering the questions and comments from our participant. So, Ryan, if you could send us some questions, okay? What are the steps that you follow in project implementation to ensure that the AMIRA recommendations are followed?
Hello, everyone. I want to ask to Carlos for help me with the translation.
Okay.
For better answer in Spanish. En AMIRA, más que nosotros preocuparnos de garantizar la ejecución, nuestra metodología está basada en AMIRA. Entonces, como parte de la metodología de implementación, se inicia el diseño del modelo con la definición del objetivo de este. Para el caso de la contabilidad metalúrgica, los modelos son más bien macros, y consideran todos los activos que se deben reportar en la compañía. Luego, los siguientes pasos son asegurar el dato único, la trazabilidad, etc.
Well, basically, Felipe is mentioning that Contac methodology for the project implementation already considers the AMIRA guidelines defined before the standard, and that they follow practice from the beginning of the project and in the design to keep in mind what the AMIRA defines, and there are some data that they pay special attention, or also condition that they pay special attention during the implementation. That is pretty much the quality of the data to have a unique value. It's a one single value of level of the truth, and the traceability of the information.
Okay, very good. Next question, Ryan. What type of support does Contac provide after successful project implementation?
Ok. Por lo general, con nuestros clientes tenemos un contrato de soporte, de soporte continuo, y que se activa en 24/7 para los días de ejecución del balance, ¿ya? Además, por lo general, estos contratos incluyen una bolsa de horas para desarrollos evolutivos que nos permite ir mejorando en el tiempo las aplicaciones de balance y toda la reportabilidad asociada a esto.
Well, basically, what Contac does is to have a continuation of the execution of the project, providing a very extensive support to their clients with some contract that they have that is providing support 24/7, and basically also they have some objectives where they need to include some processes that they have to do, but also with additional basket of hours where the client can request some specific activities that cannot be considered from the beginning.
So that's it. No more questions. So thank you, Felipe, for making this presentation. I forgot to mention that you have been doing this for 15 years and you're electrical engineer converted into a metallurgical accountant somehow over those last 15 years. So congratulations. This is great work. And we're very happy to have you as a partner. And also we look forward maybe next year to be featuring the same app, but leveraging the studio, Sigmafine Studio and SigmafineHub. So thank you very much for participating in our summit today.
Okay.
Okay.
Gracias, Felipe.
Bye.
Okay, so next presentation. Probably the word you have heard the most today is SigmafineHub. And you've heard it in many different contexts. And as you know, this product was released in last September. We have been talking about it for probably 2 years. It took some time, but it's here now. And it's really the beginning of a next generation Sigmafine, I would say, journey for all of us, both Pimsoft and with customers and partners. So the obvious question is, where do I start? How do I start? And, what do I need to do to get started? So the next presentation, which is our last presentation for today, is going to address these questions. Carolina Testa, one of our field service engineer or Sigmafine specialist, is going to lay out for you how to get started with the SigmafineHub. Of course, if you're an existing customer, as you saw, you may have a little bit of upgrading to do if you're behind in your version of Sigmafine. If you're a new customer, you'll get started right from the get-go with SigmafineHub. Since last September, this is the way to go. So Carolina's presentation can start.
Hello everyone, I am Carolina Testa, Sigmafine Product Specialist at Pimsoft. Today I will talk about getting started with SigmafineHub. This presentation is for those who are interested in SigmafineHub and need to know how to proceed in order to get it. Getting started with SigmafineHub does not mean to revolution your system, it means to improve it instead. Your current Sigmafine models and analysis will be preserved, and the current display will be maintained, even if they need conversion. Also, the configuration that have been implemented in your Sigmafine server will be maintained. It adapts to the current Sigmafine server installation for the Sigmafine version that are supported. Say that you can define the best onboarding plan for your organization, including installation and training. Here are the sequence of actions that getting started with SigmafineHub requires. First, define installation scenario. In other words, define the architecture of the new SigmafineHub system. Second, update Sigmafine system as needed. According to the system requirements, it may be necessary to upgrade the Sigmafine server version. 3. Install SigmafineHub. Optional remote installation package is available for this step. 4. Sigmafine display conversion. Free online display conversion service is available to all SigmafineHub customers. 5. Quick start orientation. An optional remote installation package by Pimsoft is available also for this step. Let's see all the steps more in detail, starting from the definition of the installation scenario. As we said, the architecture of the new SigmafineHub system must be defined, since it may affect the installation process. Installation is easier, for example, if SigmafineHub has a dedicated server and a local SQL server. So in other cases, the installation can require some additional checks and actions. Update Sigmafine system. If the Sigmafine server version is older than 4.6.8, a Sigmafine upgrade is necessary before jumping to the next step of the installation. If the Sigmafine server doesn't need an upgrade or it has been already done, the installation can take place. It means having SigmafineHub installed and connected to the Sigmafine server with client connection ready to be used. The SigmafineHub installation is much easier than the installation that we are used to see for Sigmafine components, and if the requirements are met, it can be performed by users that are not professional IT. In order to describe the SigmafineHub installation process, we divide it into a sequence of 4 phases: the planning, the installation, the configuration of the parameters, and the commission of SigmafineHub, testing and verifying the final system. In the plan phase, a pre-installation assessment will be made, and the system must be prepared for the next step. During the install and configure phase, the installation itself will be performed, together with the settings of the connection parameters. Depending on the case, the installation phase can be performed entirely by the customer under Pimsoft guidance, or completely by Pimsoft with the customer IT support, or partially by Pimsoft and partially by the customer IT. In the last phase of commission, the whole system will be tested, including the display conversion. The plan phase includes a review of the pre-installation checklist that can be performed by Pimsoft together with the IT team. We will check that all the system requirements are met. And finally, the Sigmafine server version needs to be verified, since some version needs a patch to support SigmafineHub. Once all these points are confirmed, we can move to the next phase. The system requirements for SigmafineHub are the following. Microsoft SQL Server must be version 2008 R2 or higher. Microsoft.NET version 4.8. OSIsoft AF Client version 2.9.5. Regarding the browser, both Microsoft Edge and Chrome are okay for SigmafineHub. As you can see, all these components can be easily installed by the customer IT. When all the prerequisites are checked and the required third-party software had been installed, the customer should download the SigmafineHub installation kit from the Sigmafine support site. At this point, we can proceed with the SigmafineHub installation. When the SigmafineHub is installed, it needs to be configured and connected to the target Sigmafine server, and if present, to the Sigmafine test server as well. Then one user is configured to access and operate on SigmafineHub. Obviously, only authorities account have access to the SigmafineHub and to the many services that it supports. The next step is the registration of the Sigmafine server. This is an important step that is performed only once and links the SigmafineHub to its license. Then, if required, the patch needs to be installed in the Sigmafine server. Finally, the new system can be tested in order to guarantee all the functionalities, and the last phase of commission can take place. In this step is completed when the SigmafineHub application server and the application server are connected, and user can connect to the Sigmafine server via SigmafineHub. When SigmafineHub is successfully installed, we can skip to the display conversion step. The PI process book displays that were used to work with in Sigmafine can be used anymore in SigmafineHub. In order to visualize the Sigmafine model in the SigmafineHub visualization tool, the SigmafineHub visualizer, the PI process book display must be converted in a SigmafineHub friendly format. This conversion process is very simple and includes only a few steps. Here is a short recap of the display conversion process. The PDI files need to be loaded into the SigmafineHub site, where they will be converted. When the conversion will be over, a message will be sent to the user that will be able to download the converted file and load it in the new SigmafineHub server of his company. After that, the user will be ready to work with it. Once the displays have been converted and available in SigmafineHub, the only missing step is the onboarding of the user. Here, some of the key actions that the user can do with SigmafineHub. First, create and manage job user using the SigmafineHub admin web app. Then, register on the Sigmafine support site. As we said, only users with permission will be able to access SigmafineHub and work with models. They can explore the resources of the Sigmafine support site. They can convert the Sigmafine displays, and after the conversion, the displays can be imported in the new SigmafineHub system and used to run the Sigmafine models. All the basic Sigmafine operations, collect element, collect transfer, collect input, run, and publish, will be performed during the visualizer. All the new features of the Sigmafine visualizer will be available, as well as the functionalities and the tricks that can improve the user experience and save time during the balance analysis. The SigmafineHub installation service package allows you to get SigmafineHub completely installed by Pimsoft remotely. Even if SigmafineHub installation can be easily performed by the customer, you may need to speed up the process. The installation package includes all the installation steps, from the pre-installation assessment to the test of the client connections. Depending on the case, the installation phase can be performed completely by Pimsoft with the customer IT support, or partially by Pimsoft and partially by the customer IT, depending on the permissions that are given to Pimsoft. Here are the requirements that need to be met for this service. The IT staff of the customer, who is the owner of the system, must be available to support Pimsoft during the process. The service will be performed remotely. That's why Pimsoft will need to access the SigmafineHub server remotely in a secure way. In some cases, depending on the Sigmafine version, a patch is required. So, in that case, Pimsoft will need remote access to the Sigmafine server too. Required network ports must be open for SigmafineHub prior to the installation, and one of Sigmafine displays must be available for conversion test purposes. Finally, in order to ask for this service, the customer must have an active software maintenance program. The installation service is estimated to take about 8 hours. The installation activity from scratch can take a few hours, but the overall elapsed time may be longer since it depends on the fulfillment of the system requirements and the completion of the pre-installation checks. After the SigmafineHub is installed, the easiest way to get started with the new system is with the SigmafineHub Quick Start service. Once SigmafineHub is successfully installed on your system, this standard service package will introduce the user to the new SigmafineHub. It is an 8-hour remote orientation training divided into 4 sessions, 2 hours each. All the users must be already familiar with Sigmafine, since this is not a Sigmafine user training. This course will show the new graphic interface of Sigmafine visualizers and the new features. The concepts of Sigmafine, however, are unchanged, so the user will not take too long to understand how to use SigmafineHub. With the Quick Start service package, Pimsoft will introduce you to the new display conversion service. An account for the display conversion must be registered and activated. Pimsoft will assist you during the conversion of one single display to show you the process. Finally, the converted display will be loaded into the SigmafineHub and will be ready to be used. Now we see the prerequisite to get the Quick Start service. Since this training is provided remotely, a secure remote access must be granted through dedicated VPN or equivalent to the SigmafineHub and Sigmafine server. Then, at least one display must be available in order to test the conversion, one display for each participant, and the selected display must be correctly synchronized with the Sigmafine model. External internet access must be allowed too for the display conversion service. Finally, the customer should have an active software maintenance program in order to be able to get this service, and the participant should already know the basic of Sigmafine, as we said before. This service, however, comes with some conditions. First, this service package is delivered remotely and requires remote access to the SigmafineHub application server and Sigmafine server. Then, the maximum number of participants is 4. A pre-orientation checklist will be sent and reviewed with the customer to confirm that all the prerequisites are met before proceeding with the orientation session. The orientation session may be recorded by the customer and used for retraining purposes inside the organization only. The SigmafineHub Quick Start is an 8-hour training divided into 4 sessions of 2 hours. In this case, the overall duration of the service will depend just on the customer availability and whether the will be planned only 1 session per week or 2. Now, if you have any question, let me know.
Okay, thank you very much, Carolina, for this presentation. Do we have any questions from the audience? Okay, here's the first one. Is it possible to install SigmafineHub on the same server as the Sigmafine server, or is it mandatory to install it on a different node?
Yes, it is possible to install SigmafineHub on the same Sigmafine server, but it is not the preferred scenario. The preferred scenario is to have a dedicated server for SigmafineHub with a local SQL server, because it would be easier to check for the prerequisite. If we install SigmafineHub on the same Sigmafine server, we would have more checks to do. And furthermore, we would have to allow external access on the Sigmafine server as well, because we need external access on the Sigmafine server.
Okay, thank you very much. Next question. Is the use of the online display conversion service subject to Pimsoft's approval, or can I use it whenever I need to convert a process book to a SigmafineHub display?
Yes, you can use it whenever you need, because once it is activated, installing SigmafineHub, it is free and available for the SigmafineHub customer. So the user, when they learn how to use it and they are allowed to access this service, they can connect and upload all the process book display they need.
Okay. Is it possible that some displays may not convert 100% right first time? Is that a possibility?
Unfortunately, it is possible. That's why every time a display is converted, a message is received by the user. And this message say how if the display has been converted totally 100% or less, and which are the issues.
Okay. And what happens if there are issues? Are those fixable or?
Yes, actually, with the SMP, the user will receive support from our team.
Okay, to basically complete the conversion, but maybe manually instead of automatically. Okay, understood. Great. Any? Okay, I think that was the. No, one more question, Ryan. No? Okay, this was the last question. Okay, thank you very much, Carolina, for this presentation. Anyone interested to get started with SigmafineHub? So now you know what to do. You can contact your account manager, or you can get in touch with tech support, and they will walk you through the steps on how to do this. So we have done this as a service package, so it's very lightweight, it's very cost effective, and we can roll this out on a short notice. Good. So we are coming to the end of our Americas seminar. I know before maybe I took some people by surprise about the fact that David is no longer with us. I gave Ryan some information. I don't know, Ryan, if you can share your desktop. Just if you want to make a screenshot, this is the information we have currently about where and how to pay your respects. So some of you had him as a friend as well, so please feel free to share this information. Okay, so we can leave that on the screen for a few seconds if you want to take a screenshot. If you want to get more information, please feel free to email me first name last name at pimsofting.com. I will be happy to provide you more information. Okay, so to close this day, today I would like to invite back Massimo Galli to say a few words about the summit. Hi. And also Massimo and I were talking, offline, and basically at the end of the closing remarks, we'll restart your presentation, Massimo, so people can listen to it fully. That's correct.
I'm not sure. I believe it needs to be fixed.
Okay. But okay, so eventually it will be online. Yeah.
Exactly. It will be available online after the summit.
Yeah. We apologize. I guess there's no such thing as a perfect virtual event nowadays. There's always a little something that catches you up. But anyway, so after seeing the presentations by customers and partners, Massimo, the thing that strikes me this year is that Sigmafine is at the crossroads of many business functions or technical functions or operational functions in our customers. I mean, we've grown to become from a specialized calculator, to basically being the cornerstone of a lot of applications and functions which require good information. How much of this transformation do you think is driving our SigmafineHub development, and how do you see the future, evolving from this position?
Okay. Well, actually, you're right, because at the very beginning of the story of Sigmafine used to be a sort of standalone application running on a computer and operated by one single person, and who had to load the data by hand through files and then find a way to export those data out. And today, yes, we listen to at least all the three stories from our customer and partner. We're talking about a scenario where, if I recall well, in Chevron, Sigmafine was in the middle of a complex work process in the refinery and integrated with different applications. Then we saw Emerson, where there was an integration with the advanced analytic layer. And finally, the other example from Contac was again a case where Sigmafine was part of a process even driven by even industry standards, like AMIRA for metallurgical balance. So for sure, this has been one of the reasons. And in fact, I would like to remark one point that you have seen today live even, SigmafineHub and Sigmafine Studio. So you understood that this is coming with a sort of a system of web components. So it is a nice web application. But I would like to say that this is not the real reason why we are doing all this. This is just a technological enabler, okay? Because the real reason is that we are living in a complex world. So Sigmafine, we see, is part of these larger digital initiatives, and we need an application framework which is capable to stay in between of those work processes. And so the real reason why we are developing SigmafineHub is that we would like to provide these capabilities to our customer, which span from, like you have seen today in Sigmafine Studio, some sort of knowledge augmentation, because Sigmafine user will be able to add a new analytics, new dashboard, a new report, new way of shaping data. Also, those will be configurable in an answered workflow, very important. So you will be able to really control all the steps of your work, starting from the data gathering through the real data reconciliation steps and to the data transformation step and exporting. And also today you haven't seen the nice capabilities about enhanced collaboration, but I believe this will be one of the real or the function really beloved by our customer, because it will allow a real team working around the Sigmafine processes. So at the very end, I believe that yes, this is really the basic reason why we have started this path through the SigmafineHub. Okay, and the web technology is a nice enabler, because it will anyway provide a certain set of advantages. Massimo underlined the advantages on the security side, and then obviously there are many advantages on the installation side. No more thick client, just web browsers and so on.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Thank you, Massimo. I think this year is a turning point. It's a turning point for our customers in terms of start to that journey into next generation Sigmafine with the SigmafineHub. So. Okay, so we made it. Our second day of the Sigmafine Summit is complete. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for participating and showing an interest in what we do. It's very important for us. I would like also to thank everyone who prepared presentations and made themselves available for Q&A. Of course, without any presentations from customers, partners, or even my colleagues here in Pimsoft, we wouldn't be able to do what we did today. So thank you very much. This is important for us that we can have this yearly moment to look at, to discuss and to exchange with you with ideas. If you're not already using Sigmafine and you attended today, I hope, we look forward to speak with you and explore how we can make a contribution, to your business, like you have seen from other customers and partners in this presentation. If you're already using Sigmafine, we will continue having discussions with you and expand the story further. Presentation and recordings will be available shortly after the summit on the Sigmafine live site, the same site you're logged in today. And you can download and share with your customer. So we look forward to see you at the next webinars, the next opportunity, and thank you very much for being with us today on this event.
Thank you very much.